1-2, and then Albuquerque takes the lead. Wow.
That's what it's all about, putting it all on the line. Total commitment right now to win in this championship.
And a good day for Pfaff Motorsports. Pfaff Motorsports wins at Laguna Seca.
For anyone's game for those podium spots.
It's LMP2 victory going to the Riley.
This championship never disappoints.
Sportscar racing has been a fan favorite in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin since they first raced on the village streets in 1950. And like the adage says, big things have small beginnings. Welcome to the longest road course on the IMSA schedule. Welcome to Road America and the IMSA Fastlane.com Sports Car Weekend. Looking down on the paddock, full of competitors and full of sports car fans as well. Drivers and teams getting ready, and what started out as a gorgeous weekend without a cloud in the sky, it's become a bit cloudy with some showers in the area, but still, we are going to have an awesome weekend. Some sprinkles on the camera. All 5 classes back in action in IMSA competition this weekend. Thunderstorms in the area, like I said, but nice cool temperatures. Should be good weather for racing as long as the rain stays away. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Brian Till along with Calvin Fish. We'll have the call from up top. Hannah Newhouse, Matt Yoakum. They'll have all the compelling stories from pit lane, and believe me, there will be many of them. Calvin, we look at it and the season is winding down, and we talk about championships being in play. They are red hot in several of the categories. Only 2 races left for the prototypes, 3 for the GT cars, and I don't even think that the weather in the area could rain on this parade, that championship fire.
Pressure is really building right now, Brian. It's moving day for the prototypes, penultimate round. So if you're the championship leader, the 60 squad, they're coming off 5 consecutive runner-up finishes. You look at the points, they sit 51 points in front. If they win here today, that would make it almost an insurmountable lead heading into Petit Le Mans. But for the Chasers, the 10 squad, they sit on the pole. They've never won here at Road America before, remarkably. They got a very strong car here today. They need big points. And look at the 0-1, still in the game, coming off a big win. They need to get a win here today to even have a shot at this championship when we get to that final round. But coming to Road America is one of the drivers' favorites. It's an absolute monster of a racetrack. But if you get rain here and there's a threat of that, boy oh boy, does that really turn things around. Look at this, 2020 monsoon conditions, a skating rink. Some of the best in the business were caught out here at low speed, just running straight off the racetrack. Here's John Edwards aboard that BMW from the lead. Cost him the win that day. You see Nick Tandy behind him. So this could really throw a curveball on this championship, Brian, if we see rain later in the event here today.
Big stories all around, and if you follow the championship in DPI, you'll know that that fuse was lit between the 60 and the 10 when the first green flag of the season dropped at Daytona.
Acura, they still run 1-2, battle for the lead between the 2 Acuras.
Brian Shank Racing, they're going to win the 60th edition as well. Acura 1-2, they continue to excel.
To the checkers here, 5 in a row for Acura, and it will be at the hands of Ricky Taylor. The 10 car, Philippe Albuquerque. The 60 of Tom Blomqvist almost cut face from the opening lap of the race, and Albuquerque takes the lead. Wow.
He said the key to victory was full commitment, and Jarvis cannot believe what he's looking at.
Philippe Albuquerque, Ricky Taylor win the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen.
He is right there with Ollie Jarvis, and Jarvis has balked a little bit as well. Here comes Renger van der Zande.
Van der Zande caught it just right, and he passes Jarvis for the lead.
Still a good championship picture day. 5 consecutive runner-up finishes. The Meyer Shank Racing Group, they extend the lead in the championship.
What will happen this time?
All season long, Myers Shank and Wayne Taylor Racing have been playing whack-a-mole, trying to land something to slow down the others' impressive consistency. That's about the only thing that they've not been successful this year. Now in qualifying, Wayne Taylor Racing fired a shot across the bow. Philippe Albuquerque had a flyer, not only scoring the pole, but the points. His teammate Ricky Taylor told me they feel the pressure is all on Myers Shank with 2 races to go. For the 10, it's simple. Win. What's important now? That's a trophy here at Road America to push the title fight to Road Atlanta, where they feel like they can walk away with a championship for Wayne Taylor Racing.
Look at the backdrop. There's a big kerfuffle. The 57 car, is he out of fuel? He's running out of fuel. Crawling to the line. Sellers is through for the win. Oh my goodness.
Snow the surprise victory is the 57 out of fuel.
Sellers can't believe it.
Look at that.
This is huge for this team.
Unbelievable. It's why we race. It's never over until it's over. And we just witnessed that at Lime Rock Park.
And you could see the elation there for the #1 Paul Miller Motorsports BMW team. Brian Sellers bringing him home to that win in that late race pass at Lime Rock, and that team carrying the momentum. Madison Snow, of course, the co-driver, coming into undoubtedly one of the toughest racetracks here on the circuit. Road America, high risk, high reward for that team. But it's the 96 of Bill Auberlin and Robbie Foley in the Turner Motorsports BMW capturing the pole this afternoon, and they have the best seat in the house because, of course, it's elbows up and track position is everything. They are going for win #2 of the season. And in GTD Pro, well, it's been the season of the #9 FAF Motorsports team collecting multiple wins so far, but the team looking to dethrone them is the 14 of the Vassar Sullivan Lexus. Jack Hawksworth, of course, out of the seat for a couple of races, recovering from an injury, made his re-entrance last time at Lime Rock Motorsports Park, and they've picked up exactly where they left off. Qualified on the pole yesterday, and they will lead the field to green, looking for their first win of the season in GTD Pro.
Well, thanks, Hannah. We've talked about 3 of the 5 classes. Let's go over the other 2 very quickly. LMP2, Stephen Thomas on the pole there. His 2nd pole of the season, also on the pole at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. And in the LMP3 category, 1st pole ever for the 33, Sean Creech Motorsports and Malte Jakobsen. Great run for him, and big things for that youngster coming in the future, that's for sure. These drivers get the joy of completing a lap here at Road America, many of them, in fact. Let's take a lap right now with Cooper McNeil.
Hey guys, Cooper McNeil here, driver of the number 79 WeatherTech Racing Mercedes AMG GT3. I'm going to take you for a lap around Road America. I'm going to bring my friend Oliver with me. Come on. Come on. Good boy.
Coming down the long front straightaway here, across the start-finish line, starting the lap into turn 1. There's an access road on the left right there. We brake just past it down to 3rd gear. It's important to get to the apex here because you use all the road on the exit. Here we are entering the carousel. Car was a little tricky here for us in the first session. Get a little loose in the middle there, and early to power exiting the corner there, heading up to the kink, one of the most famous corners in all of racing. Just dab the brakes right there to set the nose. And the last corner of the racetrack, turn 14. It's important to get a good exit here because you're all the way uphill onto this long straightaway. And that's a lap at Road America.
Awesome lap at Road America, huh, Oliver?
Talk about a lucky dog, that's for sure. Ollie with a great lap around Road America. Take a look at the Michelin starting grid and the pylon there on the left of your screen. And while I'm still laughing about the dog, Calvin, but while we do that, there are keys to winning not only this race, but this championship as well.
Very much so. It's a big lap here at Road America, 4 miles. It's fast, it burns a lot of fuel, and if you start to run out in Canada corner, well, it's an uphill climb to pit lane. Don't be a cheese grater, using my Wisconsin analogy right there. The tires, big loads, particularly in the left side, very abrasive surface, so you got to watch for that. And did you pack your wellies today in your raincoat? Because guess what? Weather is in the air. We had heavy rains here this morning. The racetrack's what we call green, has been washed off. The rubber is gone. That'll be a factor here today as well.
You actually said pack your wellies earlier, but we had to take it from the English translation to the American translation of bring your raincoat.
That's right. Wellington boots, hunter boots, whatever you choose to keep your feet dry.
Good thing is the rain that was here earlier in the day has moved away, and you can see the track dry in spots, but a little damp offline. 5 different classes. We talked about that, Calvin. There will be a split start today, as in most WeatherTech races. So the prototypes will be up front, about a 20-second gap back to the GT cars.
Yeah, and there's some nice deltas with this big lap here. Certainly some big differences in lap time. So I don't think we're going to see any of the mix-up and kind of the aggravation that we sometimes see between the GTD cars and the LMP3. And with this split start, that certainly helps that situation as well.
Looking at the radar, good to see the showers off to the east and down to the south. Hopefully they stay that way, because as you said in our open, a lot of drama here when it rains. We're about to start the drama as the lights off on the pace car. He'll head to pit lane in the front row right now. Philippe Albuquerque on the pole in that blue and black number 10, the Acura. They need to finish in front of the 60, Calvin. They need to stay in this championship hunt.
They do. A lot of pressure here for the start. Albuquerque needs to get it right from the pole.
We talk about commitment. We're about to see how much commitment these drivers are willing to lay down. Green flag flies. Prototypes racing, waiting for the GT start. Albuquerque with a good jump on the 0-2 as they head down to turn 1.
Yeah, and Lynn pretty conservative there on the brakes around in second, and there's a little move there. Looks like Richard Westbrook has got around Tom Blomqvist and moves that Mustang sampling machine up into P3 as they head down to the brake zone for turn 2, turn 3. See Ollie Plug getting squeezed there by Sebastian Bourdais.
And the GT start on the right, the Lexus up front. Jack Hawksworth, a great run to put the Lexus on the pole. Third year in a row here at Road America, Lexus versus Porsche. That's your championship leader in the red and white Porsche outside.
Here comes Bourdais down to the inside on Blomqvist. That's the championship leader. He goes side by side as they climb the hill up to turn 6. Cadillac's on the move.
We talked about this before the weekend, Calvin, you and I said, how much do you risk if you're the championship leader? And you said, you got to play it the way you have all season long.
You do, and they've had a fast race car, but looks like Blomqvist's car's not come alive here in these slightly cooler conditions than we've had all weekend long. Maybe they went a bit more conservative on their tire pressures. Let's see if that car comes to life and gets the energy.
The battle down into turn 5, the Corvette. Antonio Garcia pleased with his qualifying run, but has dropped back a little bit at the start, and already some body work coming off of the GT cars as they exit turn 5. I think that was off of the number 12 Lexus.
It is. Frankie Montecalvo just missed out on claiming his 3rd consecutive pole position here yesterday. Came up second behind Robbie Foley in that yellow and blue Turner Motorsports BMW. Just coming through the picture there. Foley's had a nice start from the GTD pole. Mixed now right behind the FAF car.
A powerful move by Alex Riberas in the number 23 Aston Martin, charging down the inside into the brake zone for turn 8. This first lap or two will be sketchy at best, Calvin. It's an unknown racetrack to these drivers. Damp offline. How do you know when you can go ahead and attempt that pass when you're looking at that darker asphalt offline?
Well, these drivers at the front of this pack have so much experience, Brian. They'll be able to feel it. It's not so much what you see, it's what you feel from the seat of the pants and what the tire is giving you from those Michelin tires on this washed away racetrack. So we talk about the rubber buildup over the course of the weekend. Ton of rain here as Westbrook now. Nice start by him. They've been on the back foot a little bit, really struggling to get the car working, but nice qualifying run on the second row of the grid. And if it should rain, Richard Westbrook is a monster in the wet. The Englishman loves those conditions.
Well, and you wonder about the conditions. You mentioned it. It is cooler with the cloud cover. And look at Bourdais looking to the inside of the 5 at the apex. A little bit of contact. Bourdais is through.
Well, he was frustrated. He felt he had a car capable of pole yesterday and made a rare and uncharacteristic mistake in the final corner of his lap and went off the road, speared that Cadillac into the tire fence. So he didn't really get a representative lap, so he started at the back of the pack, but he has been on the attack early, now chasing after his teammate Alex Lynn, who on his debut here at Road America laid his Cadillac a lap time down to put him on the front row.
The problem, it looks like, for the number 25, the BMW Team RLL GTD Pro entry, dropping back a little bit. That BMW seems to be off song. John Edwards behind the wheel.
Many times the radar won't show low-level moisture, and you can see from the different camera lens there is moisture in the air, misting a little bit. Teams have spotters positioned at different parts of the racetrack so they can radio back, because Calvin and Brian, how many times has it been raining on the other side of the track, but over on the front stretch is totally clear. Trying to keep as much information as possible for strategy in case it does start to rain and they've got to go to the wet tires.
Yeah, you need that information, Matt. We've seen this before, Calvin, especially at long racetracks, Watkins Glen, Road America for sure. Literally, it can be a monsoon on one end of the racetrack, dry on the other. And speaking of the track and the radar, we know these teams and engineers, and now the BMW, not just slow, but it looks like John Edwards is stopped.
Yeah, I wonder if he's doing a reset. It basically cycled to the back of the GT field, so maybe they feel if they stop the car on the racetrack, do a reset, a bit like your computer at home. Control-Alt-Delete, see if you can get some fire back into this BMW. Hasn't been the season they've been looking for as they now transition over to testing and getting ready for LMDH and the GTP class for next year as the team looks on. This is down in turn 8, just before you go under that new bridge.
leaders just now coming through turn 7, so they'll be to that spot where there is sure to be a waving yellow flag indicating caution to the drivers, no passing until they get to the next green flag, which you can see just under the Speedville Bridge, waving their drivers left, telling the racers they can race again. They've gone full course caution, and you know it. Yeah, you always know it. As a race official, you wait to see if they can get restarted. And then they started to go full course caution, but it looks like they pulled it back. How do you do that?
I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure if any flags were actually displayed to the competitors, so maybe they just get that message if it was relayed on the radio communication. They do that as well, that we are staying green, with Edwards getting some life back in the RLL BMW number 25. Here's a nice little battle up front. This is a battle for the GTD Pro. Talk about FAF Motorsports being on a roll of late. 1, 2 in a row. If they can win 3 straight, that may make that lead insurmountable by the time we get to VIR for the next round of the championship for the GTD classes.
When you talk about firing on all cylinders, they've been almost perfect all year long, has FAF Motorsports, and pole positions, race wins, and it seems like they've taken that energy and moved it forward as Matt Campbell and Matthew Jaminet look forward to piloting the Porsche GTP car next season.
Now, how many times, guys, have you had an issue with your computer and you just do the big Control-Alt-Delete, power down, power back up? That's exactly what they've done on the 25. He says the engine has fired now, and now they're just running through the system.
It's just whatever happened to carburetors and manual transmission cars. Those are long gone, and the cars now are so high tech that they're driven by computers, as you just said, as Matt pointed out as well, Calvin. Those can be reset, and all of a sudden the problems go away.
Yeah, well, hopefully the car is now healthy and he can keep on pace, because he hasn't gone down a lap to the GT field, just to the prototypes. So we actually get a wave bar if we should go yellow. They need help to get back in the game, but if they've got a healthy race car, anything can still happen here. As we ride on board here with Matt Campbell. He's won here twice before, including a big win with WeatherTech last year in GT Le Mans. Picking up the big draft. There is a 4,400-foot run between the exit of turn 14 before they get to the brake zone for turn 1. Jack Hawksworth protects that inside lane, and that's going to give him the ability to just slide down to the apex, take that road away once again from Matt Campbell, the Aussie, who's on a monster move here right now.
Hawksworth missing a couple of races. Watkins Glen, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, with that injury that he sustained in a motocross accident. Somebody asked him recently, have you gotten back on the bike yet? And he just started laughing and said, I don't want to see a bike or a motorcycle or anything anytime in the near future. He says he's back to almost 100%, and that's good, but you need to brace yourself around this racetrack, these long high-speed corners, pressing with that left foot over on what we call the dead pedal or the footrest, and that puts energy not only through your lower extremities but also your lower back, both the areas that Jack Hawksworth had problems with after that accident.
And Mother Nature really toying with the emotion of strategists right now down here on pit road. All of these teams firing off on slicks, because at the time of the green flag, well, it didn't look like there was any real rain in the area. The clouds had kind of moved out. Well, guess what? It's misting, and that mist is continuing to pick up. And the rain tires, as you can see here, they've been moved from the tire racks behind the teams now here onto pit wall. So it's a waiting game. The the Heart of Racing team said rain right now at a 2 out of 10. If it starts to get worse, they'll call those teams in and switch to those rain tires.
But that's the problem, though, isn't it, Calvin? We talked about the length of the racetrack, where it's raining, where it's not, and if you don't really see spray off the cars, the rain tire's just not going to last in these long-duration, high-speed corners.
No, there's so much load that are generated through the suspension and into the tire. If you're running on those wet weather Michelin tires, it just really works the tread block. It moves around. And with a slick tire, it's got that formation where it doesn't allow the tread to move too much, whereas on a rain tire, totally different. So in dry conditions, you're right, Brian, you pretty much got to hang with it, even if it's raining in a couple of the corners, and the majority of the track's still dry. You got to stay there, out there on the slicks, and that's where the drivers really earn their money.
Talk a lot about heat and temperature in the tires, and that heat in the rain tire is the biggest enemy because the rubber's so soft. Those blocks get moved back and forth like bending a metal coat hanger. The heat builds up and the tire performance goes away. The blocks actually go away. They can come off the carcass of the tire. So you want to stay out as long as you can. Easy for us to say, Calvin, because we're sitting here not going 180. I think 3 different times around this racetrack, DPIs touch or exceed 180 miles an hour.
I love that little tow hook there. It's like a target, right? And this is Tom Blomqvist, who has a target. He's got to get back in the big points. Closest challenger to them in the points is leading right now with Albuquerque. So this would be a big point swing as they run right now. But maybe they just set this car up to come on a little bit stronger later in the run. Richard Westbrook up ahead. This is a battle for 4th position on the racetrack. This is turn 3. Then you take the big run down through the trees.
Leader down to turn 5. Philippe Albuquerque. He said the car was so good in qualifying, he called the pole lap as he came to the line. He said, this must be pole. He said the lap was almost perfect, not because of him per se. He gave all the credit to the team of handing him an exceptional race car. And you had a big smile on your face when we were calling qualifying, Calvin, because you were talking about what a joy it is to drive a good car around this racetrack.
Well, it is. We talk about the big picture and the championship, yada, 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 but just driving here at Road America, it's such a stunning lap. It's 4 miles in length, got some really key, very challenging corners, as now that has now been changed with a bit of a curveball with traffic here that Albuquerque is trying to thread his way through. Alex Lynn is hanging with him. So I kind of get a smile on my face when Albuquerque says that had to be pole. Guess what? Alex Lynn on his debut here bought that 02 Cadillac racing machine, the purple and black machine in the backdrop there. He was only a 1/10 of a second off Albuquerque, so he had a pretty good one going as well.
And this is where it can all go away. It took 5.5 laps to get into GT traffic, both GTD and GTD Pro. And you hope these guys see you. It's a sense that you have of where to put the car and when to put it there. But it can go away just that quickly with a mistake on a GT car's part if they don't see you coming in a prototype.
One big advantage that the GT machines have, both GTD and GTD Pro, they're identical specifications, is that they have ABS brakes. None of the other class, none of the prototypes have ABS. So when you get these little sketchy conditions with a slight shower or damp racetrack, that really help them out if they start to lock wheels heading down into some of these corners like this one. This is turn 3, heading down into the brake zone. Number 12 car there, Frankie Montecalvo, as Roman DeAngelis to his flank. For the heart of racing machine, this team has a lot of momentum right now. They've finished second, 2 wins and a second place finish. And they are eating up in the points, that points chase towards the leader. And he gets a big run down the Moraine sweep as the prototypes are cutting through at the same time. He didn't see him coming.
It's what we were just talking about. You're mired in your own battle, and then you've got a 40 or 50 mile an hour delta with the prototype coming through, and you've got to drive your car, you've got to drive your mirror all at the same time. And if you're a prototype driver, you're crossing your fingers and trying to fill that gap.
Yeah, DeAngelis there was just trying to protect that inside line down into turn 5. Didn't realize that the prototypes had a big run on him. So he's made the move on Montecalvo. So we take another look at it and see how this situation develops. It's down the Moraine sweep. You come out of turn 3. It's a big, long straightaway. This is turn 3. So he'll pick up the draft here from Frankie in front of him aboard the Lexus. Aston Martin has pretty good straight line speed at the best of times. So he gets the draft. Now he's alongside him. He's going to clear him. Then he tries to move over on line, not recognizing that Richard Westbrook is right there. Glancing blow, hopefully no damage to either race car.
And this is from the outside camera. We see it coming, but Roman DeAngelis has no idea that Westbrook's coming.
No, he was just protecting Frankie, trying to do a dive bomb down to the inside, and didn't see Wesley and the rest of the prototype gang right behind him.
Interesting conditions right now. The downforce on the prototype will help immensely in these corners with this moisture on the racetrack. It's still going to take some grip away, Calvin, but I would think that the GTD cars and GTD Pro, they'll suffer a little bit more. Good aerodynamic on those cars, but they just don't have the same downforce level that a prototype has.
Don't have the same downforce level, Brian, but they're a lot more softly sprung. So through some of the low speed corners where the aero's not coming into play like this one, they may be pretty good because the car's a bit more supple, a bit more compliant. We'll get the mechanical grip versus the aero grip. Look how tight it is. Westbrook once again having trouble with GT traffic down the Moraine sweep.
And if you're Jack Hawksworth, you just had a prototype go down one side and one go down the other side. I guess he's just thinking, I just need to keep it here in the middle and let them go by and just stay as narrow as you can. But in the meantime, he's got the number 9 filling his mirrors right behind him, and Matty Campbell going, hey, can I maybe use one prototypes as a pick and go with them.
You're looking for any opportunity, and it's so high speed here, Brian. The prototypes are touching 180 miles an hour 3 times on this circuit, into turn 1, into turn 5, and down into Canada corner, known as turn 12. And the speed delta, as you said, it's about 25 to 30 miles an hour in certain parts of this racetrack. High speed stakes here with championships on the line.
Listening to the throttle on Matt Campbell. Just that little feather of the throttle, that little throttle adjustment there in the carousel. And look at this now, the 60 right up underneath Westbrook.
Oh, that was tight. That was so tight for Westy. Trying to think about the LMP2 traffic in front of him, yet at the same time not give the opportunity. Oh, he looked to the inside. That's a risky move in Billy Mitchell Bend. This is turn 13. Blomqvist's car is coming alive now.
But it's almost a level of desperation at times. You just have to say, there's the gap. I'm going for it. Hope the other driver sees it. And for Richard Westbrook, that was about as close as it comes.
Yeah, that was risky, but we're just seeing that these moments happen throughout the course of these sports car races, Brian. We just happen to be highlighting that on camera right now, but you don't know what the 10 and the 02 and the 01 are doing at the same time. There's action everywhere around this racetrack, and that's what keeps all of the fans on their toes.
Great to look down and see the speed differentials. That's the number 74, the orange and blue LMP3 entry. And you get an idea of the differences in the prototype speeds as we watch the DPIs work through the LMP3 traffic. Gar Robinson behind the wheel of that number 74 right now. Philippe Albuquerque out in front. Patrick Kelly leads in LMP2. Jack Hawksworth still holding down the point in GTD Pro, and then in GTD, it's Robbie Foley in the BMW, the 96, who leads over Robert McGuinness.
Looking at fast lap of the day for the 25 car of John Edwards, he's many seconds off, so I don't think that car is still healthy yet.
What an up and down season for BMW team RLL. They had that great performance at Watkins Glen and then ran afoul of the drive time rules there at the end of the race, but that, as bad as it sounds, that's really been the highlight of their season, hasn't it?
Yeah, they've had a podium run alongside that, but yeah, it just hasn't gone their way. And certainly their attention is kind of split right now. There's a professional team, don't get me wrong, they're giving it full attack mode in terms of this GTD Pro Championship, but they've also now running doing the test program for the LMDH car that was just put on track for the first time this month. So it's going to be really difficult to finish off this season with rounds of the championship that they're currently in and preparing for next year as they move up to the prototype class.
Great stories all around this racetrack, and we talk about having the 5 classes back, and I love that, especially on a long racetrack like this, because it just adds to the drama, and that's what sports car racing is supposed to be about, the multi-class racing. And the fans obviously love the prototypes and the GT cars as well, and everybody's got their favorite manufacturer, and they're certainly in action here.
Lauer's gotten around Blomqvist,
yep.
So the championship leader now sits in last position, P6 in DPI. So that is huge for the 10 car that leads right now, and their closest pursuer in the points came in here with a 5-point bonus for qualifying ahead of them yesterday from 1st to 3rd on the grid, cut it to 51. This is a huge swing here today, 100-point swing potentially as they run.
1st and 2nd in the DPI championship, bookending the DPI class right now. We're going to lay out just a bit. It's going to go a little bit silent as we transition over to USA Network, but you can stay with us here on Peacock and follow us all the way to the checker flag, or make the switch with us as well.
They still run 1-2, and then Albuquerque takes the lead.
Wow. That's what it's all about, putting it all on the line. Total commitment right now to win in this championship.
Been a good day for Pfaff Motorsports. Pfaff Motorsports wins at Laguna Seca.
Well, anyone's game for those podium spots.
It's LMP2 victory going to the Riley.
This championship never disappoints.
It's America's National Park of Speed, as it is known, the longest track on the IMSA schedule. Road America, welcome in, everyone. The IMSA FastlaneSportscar.com weekend from Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. And as you look down from the aerial shots, the WeatherTech weather, well, it's getting a little damp, Calvin. We expected some possibility of scattered showers. We certainly have that right now. Brian Till with you, along with Calvin Fish. We'll have all the stories from up top. Matt Yoakum, Hannah Newhouse down in pit lane, and a pit lane that is becoming more and more damp by the moment. Race has already started. We're about 20 minutes in to this event, 21 minutes and change, in fact, and this is the leaders in the 5 different classes of IMSA competition that are on the racetrack right now. Philippe Albuquerque out in front in the number 10 in the DPI category, the fastest class competing here today, and those 5 classes will intermingle all day long. And that 10 up front, Calvin, is a huge story.
It really is. There's a storm brewing with the weather, but there is a storm brewing in this championship chase. These guys, the Konica Minolta squad, came into this round of the championship 51 points behind the 60 team for Meyer Shank Racing. They're leading this race, and the championship leaders are running in last position in class. That would be a 100-point swing and totally turn this championship on its head when we go to the final round. This is the penultimate round in the championship before Petit Le Mans in October.
Well, as you watch Philippe Albuquerque flash through turn 8 and towards the carousel, the 60 just coming out of turn 5, it looks to me like Albuquerque has the keychain that has the keys to this race victory perhaps in his pocket.
Well, as we talk about keys to victory here, it's an uphill climb off fuel. It's a very long lap, 4 miles in length, so you got to get your strategy right. And it's also burning a lot of fuel with the speed that you run here. Don't be a cheese grater. That's my Wisconsin analogy right there again. Talking about the tires here, very abrasive surface. If you're sliding in the car, you're going to burn through those and have a lot of tire degradation. And we saw the skies. Pack your raincoat, get ready, get your Wellington boots out, because if it rains here, this racetrack can be a super challenge.
As we said, awesome racetrack, 5 classes of cars, a lot of drama, and in just 22 minutes, Matt Yoakum, we've had plenty of stories. What's going on in pit lane?
The drama meter has been pegged much of the year, and when you look at Meyer Shank and Wayne Taylor Racing, they've been sort of playing a game of whack-a-mole all season long, trying to take a shot at the other's impressive consistency. Now, the shot was fired across the bow when Philippe Albuquerque scored the pole in the points, but Ricky Taylor feels like that was just the start of their push. They feel like all the pressure is on that hot pink Acura of Meyer Shank. The goal today, score the W, go into Road Atlanta, and walk away with another trophy in the championship. And right now, they're out front, clean air, and that 60 is back in 6, so they're scoring some big points here, Hannah.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And in GTD Pro, man, it's been the 14 Vassar Sullivan so far leading the charge. Obviously started there on the pole when Hawksworth yesterday got that quick time position. Hawksworth, of course, returning here to the seat at Lime Rock, second race back after recovering from an injury. But it hasn't been without a grueling battle thus far in the race with that number 9 Pfaff Motorsports car. Pfaff has been undoubtedly the toughest car to beat all season long. The battle just starting to heat up, and those teams reporting on the radio that rain is picking up significantly in different parts of the racetrack, and they're starting to lose a little bit of control. But in GTD, it's the 96 of Bill Auberlin and Robbie Foley in that Turner Motorsports BMW. They qualified on the pole and haven't really had much of a challenge yet. But hey, it's still early on in the race, and they'd love to get their second win of the season.
Look at the rain on the camera lenses. In some places on the racetrack, it's quite heavy. Other places, not so much. But the championship stories are intense, and so is the traffic. Look at this through turn 14. LMP2 battle for the lead flashes through in the midst of GT traffic.
Oh, look at that, some argy-bargy there as they climb the hill. They try and go 3 wide up the front straightaway. That's White Merriman on the inside in the lighter blue prototype there. Now GT traffic to deal with.
Good stuff. The
Wow,
20
Thomas backs up and gives everyone a little bit of breathing room. Smart move there by Stephen Thomas aboard the number 11.
And again, this is just 23, 24 minutes in. It's going to be like this for the next 2 hours and 20 minutes. And you just got to keep your wits about you. Which one is more difficult, Calvin? Driving the faster prototype or driving the GT car?
I think it's more difficult driving the slower GT car. You're in your own battle and you're constantly looking in that rear view facing camera and also the side view mirrors, trying to figure out with the speed deltas here, 25, 30 miles an hour down the moraine sweep here. You can see you make a subtle move in the GT class. You got those prototypes. That's the leader there. Philippe Albuquerque coming down the inside. Montecalvo and Conright here going side by side in the climb up the hill. This is turn 6. Watch for Lamborghini to the inside, and there's a prototype. Takes it away, takes the opportunity away from the 42.
It's just like you said, the GT car, the slower cars on the racetrack, not slow by any stretch of the imagination, but you've got to just keep your eye on your mirror, deal with your competitor, but you know that there's faster traffic coming through. A prototype P2 car spun at 8.
Low speed corner. This is Stephen Thomas. We just saw him in the thick of that action there trying to make way. And no, that's not good. He could have beached it. He's got the rear wheel stuck. At high sides, these cars have such a low ground clearance to create the downforce with the car.
He's done.
If you get high-sided, he's not going anywhere there, and that is a target zone should someone miss their braking point down into turn 8. Let's see how this evolved here. Just in the traffic there. I'm not sure if he just heard it squeeze on the power too early through that tight corner or whether he got bumped. But now he tries to spin it around. He's got hot tires, so when he tries to do a quick spin, it just drove him forward, then onto the wet grass with the rain we had overnight, and now he's not going anywhere.
You know, the 20 was in there as well. You can see it happen up front. I think he's just out of the camera shot. So Anderson with the problem, or Anderson perhaps with the contact. It's Thomas with the problem. He's out. So is the double yellow. Full course caution at Road America. We'll be back to more IMSA competition right after this. Stay with us. IMSA Racing on USA is brought to you by Acura, precision crafted performance. By Michelin, track to street, perform on all roads with legendary Michelin Pilot tires. And by Lexus, experience amazing. Shows you just how hardy the crowd is and the fans are here in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Road America, I said at the beginning of our program, 1950 they started racing sports cars in the village of Elkhart Lake, and in 1955 was the opening of this facility, and it's one of the very few road courses in the United States, Calvin, that really hasn't changed. It's had a couple of little adjustments here or there, but the basic layout of this racetrack, the magic of it, has stayed the same.
No disrespect to all the iconic circuits that we run on in this championship, but this is my favorite, Brian, in terms of the length, the challenges that it creates, the high lows, the unique corners like the carousel, and the game of chicken that you play with yourself through there in terms of when it's go time to hit that gas pedal. Just love this place, love the area. It's got such an ambiance here. It's a special, special time to come.
And IMSA sports car racing is all about families. As you look at the Cadillac track facts, just over 4 miles long, longest on the WeatherTech calendar. And we've been here since 2000, but this is such a great family destination. If you want to take your family to a racetrack, this is it. The concession stands are numerous. The variety of food is extensive, and the quality of the food is really, really good. And I know a lot of people come here and they talk about just the food, the cheese curds, the grilled corn on the cob as the wave by is happening, the class split happening on the racetrack. If you are looking for a racetrack to visit in 2023, any of the IMSA events would be a great choice, but Road America, if you're in this part of the country, an easy choice to make. We'll be back right after this.
personal thoughts, I wish the race car had that much horsepower. Probably the first thing.
Power grid everywhere. But you can surely feel everything we actually feel on a race car.
Driving around here at Elkhart Lake Road America, it's a track where you can really kind of open up the engine and just accelerate, and the power is impressive, the handling's impressive, the brakes. Yeah, I mean, I've got a huge smile on my face. I'm going to be leaving here and starting negotiations to get my own one back at home.
What an awesome car, and Antonio Garcia behind the wheel of the number 3 right now. You can find out about the all-new 2023 Corvette Z06. To learn more, just visit Chevy.com/Z06. So full course yellow, prototypes can pit now. The pit lane open for the prototypes, and they do that split pit opportunity for prototypes and GT, and I think with a field like this, that's a really good thing, Calvin.
Yeah, it is. There's a ton of cars to obviously get serviced at the same time, and they're towards the end of their pit window anyway in terms of how far they could have gone on fuel, so this is ideal. We're looking at just shy of 40 minutes on full fuel burn. That means when they're running flat out without doing any fuel save, you really eat up the fuel here at Road America. This is the O2 pit. Who can maybe perform a slightly faster pit stop and leapfrog that lead of the 10 car that is, I would say, dominated, because Sebastian Bourdais, we talked about his problem in qualifying, he's got that 0-1 machine up to P2 as they roll down pit lane. Look at Blomqvist at the back of the pack. This is a huge recharge moment for them. Can they adjust the settings and find some speed aboard the championship leading car?
Cars heading to their marks. Hannah?
And right now, the 01 Cadillac comes in for Chip Ganassi Racing. Sebastian Bourdais currently behind the wheel. That driver told you, you've got one more stint that you'll run out, and then we'll do the driver change over to Renger van der Zandt. Seb saying that car overall has really good balance, but of course, they're searching for grip with those Michelin pilots. Obviously, the track additions playing a huge thing into that. Alex Lynn as well comes in with their Cadillac Racing. Cautious to get into their pit because it's slick track conditions here on pit road, Matt.
And service has already been completed on the Wayne Taylor 10. They've made a driver change. Now, Ricky Taylor told me this morning that he much prefers to get in the race car before the rain hits. If it's misting, that's when he would like to get in for that transition. Meanwhile, the 60 is on pit road. Remember, he was in that last spot in the DPI results. They missed pit road. They had a miscue. They were going to pit a lap and a half before that full course caution when the car went off track. And Tom Blomqvist said, did I miss the cue? And they said, yes. Right now, he's on pit road, servicing the car.
Well, I've seen Chip Ganassi Racing do this at the 24 Hours at Daytona, making major chassis adjustments here. This looks like the push rods and everything that would adjust the ride height of the race car. So we saw Tom Blomqvist really struggling here. Maybe they set the car up a little bit higher, anticipating a lot of heavy rain where the bottom of the car can actually aquaplane and sit on top of the water. So maybe they've got the outside of the window where the car is working. I love this, though. It's a big, long lap here. There's a DPI class split. So they just got to get out there, stay on the lead lap. They'll get waved back by around, and the worst he'll start this restart in is in 6th position, providing they just get everything clipped up here.
Which is exactly where he was. These Acuras so aerodynamic, independent. A great opportunity. Lady Luck may be smiling on Meyershank Racing, and a driver change as well.
And the GT cars are on pit lane, down in the 9 pit. The FAF team waiting for that plaid Porsche to hit their box. They are going to make a driver change. Mathieu Jaminet is going to get in. This is going to be a quick driver change because they don't need a full load of fuel. Going from their slicks from qualifying, putting on the rain tires on the 9, Hannah.
Yeah, and the 12 Vassar Sullivan Lexus in as well. A driver change happening there. So Frankie Montecalvo, he'll climb out. Aaron Tielitz will now go behind the wheel. And of course, for both those Vassar teams, including the 14 who came in and pitted, the team put on slicks on the wall. Then they put on the rain tires. Then the slicks came back on. They've been going back and forth, but it is now going to be wet rain tires, wet Michelins going on both of the Vassar Sullivan Lexus cars.
Interesting to see the strategies, how they differ from GTD to prototypes. We'll find out more when we come back to Road America. Mondays on USA. Don't miss the pulse-pounding, non-stop action of Monday Night Raw featuring WWE superstars. Monday Night Raw, live tomorrow at 8 on USA. And some driver changes going on during those pit stops, Calvin. The Corvette, the number 3 Corvette in GTD Pro, went from 3rd to 1st, so changes as well in the order, and a lot of times the race can certainly be decided on pit lane. You get that track position and the rain comes in, completely changes the complexion of the race.
Yeah, and with the threat of rain, we ran into a problem at Watkins Glen where we had some inclement weather with lightning, and we lost a lot of the race time, and that really affected a lot of the team's drive time. So they tried to preclude that by shortening the minimum drive times for all of the classes. DPI is just 10 minutes anyway, but for all the other classes were like 45 or 60 minutes. They changed that this week in the drivers' meeting to just 30 minutes. So a lot of those drivers now sufficed that with the opening stints of the race and done their driver change. We see the 60 car back in once again, doing for another tweak here, Matt.
And Calvin, the 60 is back in, topping him off with fuel. Just a little quick top off. Remember, they're a little bit off sequence because of how the car has been handling. We're going to catch up with Tom Blumquist here in a second.
Yeah, I like this. This is thinking it through. It's very easy to panic. We've got the championship lead. The car's not working how Tom wanted it in that opening stanza. But they had the ability with that full course yellow to really go to work. They've made some major aero changes, we believe. They've changed the ride height on the race car. And now they're still thinking ahead. Because you're at the tail end of the lap, why not come in and top up? You're not losing any track position. They have more fuel on board. That will create more options for them moving forward.
I was going to say, it's all about the options. You've got the option of the dry or the rain tire. Michelin comes prepared for all of these competitors. And every weekend we get to learn a little bit more about Michelin. We do this weekend as well in our Michelin Tire Tech Minute.
Michelin and the drivers appreciate that 4-mile-long Road America circuit that lets the IMSA cars get rolling down its 3 long straightaways. One of the most important elements of tire performance is how efficiently a tire rolls. The rolling resistance, well, that accounts for about 20% of the actual energy used when a vehicle's in motion. Car makers, consumers, and truck fleets rely on Michelin's reduced rolling resistance to improve fuel economy. Racers convert that efficiency into improved lap times. But how do you make a tire that reduces rolling resistance? Michelin researchers model tire sizes while reviewing shapes and the combination of materials in the construction. The process is done in a way that does not compromise tire performance or tire life. Michelin strives to produce tires that are perfectly round and consistent from one set to the next. But ironically, it is not the long straightaways that make a difference here at Road America. The secret to success is braking, cornering, and consistency that typically wins the day and rolls in the victory lane. And talking about things rolling in, the mist is certainly rolling in. There was some debate about whether to go for rain or stay on the slicks on this past pit stop. So, Tom, you guys were going to come in a little bit early and short pit the competition. What are the challenges you have with the race car?
Yeah, we've been, to be honest, been a bit of an off weekend for us. You know, we've been struggling a little bit. You know, tried to, improve things for today, but yeah, clearly just lacking performance compared to the opposition, which made my life, a bit difficult there in the opening stint. Was just trying to hang on. But yeah, it's been difficult. So a little, yeah, we definitely got our work cut out for us this morning here to try and, make some good strategy calls to try and bring us back further up the field, because obviously our main competitors are at the front of the field right now. So yeah, we need to have a good end to the race.
And guys, we've talked so many times about how you'll see teams maybe play some strategy and get a little bit off sequence to try to improve where they're running. At the moment, we're back under green.
Back under green in the 0-1 to the front. Sebastian Bourdais around the 10, and Ricky Taylor struggling behind the wheel of the 10, loses another position to the 5, and this is huge for the 0-1. Sebastian Bourdais, Ringer van de Zande, they are in this championship, but barely, Calvin.
Yeah, and look at that now. It's Cadillac's racing side by side there, the 0-1, and now it's Westbrook who goes to the front. We talked about Richard Westbrook being superb in these wet conditions. Well, he's taken that Mustang sampling car to the front very quickly here. Ricky Taylor, let's not forget, he just jumped on board, so he's not aware of the conditions. He's going to feel it out. He doesn't want to throw it all the way into one of these brake zones. He's just got to really tread carefully here. Make sure he doesn't make that critical error with the championship. So pivotal right here today.
We think that most of the prototypes are still on slicks. Most of the GTD cars, GTD Pro, they're on rain tires, and that's a big difference. Look at these GTD cars past the prototype up the hill. That's just drive off the corner.
Drive off the corner, as we said earlier in the show. They have ABS brakes, so they're better into the brake zones. They don't risk locking up the brakes and going straight as easily as the prototypes do on the slick tires. Let's take a look here. This is between the 14 and the 3.
Little push and shove.
Yeah, that's wild stuff. Jordan Taylor now behind the wheel, and Barnacourt has now jumped aboard the 14 car. This is the first race action that he's had here at Road America. Did a test, so he knows the circuit and just elbows his way through there. So argy-bargy to get that track position.
Yeah, the elbows are out. And here's the other thing. This is the first lap after a restart. When the cars are slow on the racetrack holds that moisture. Cars aren't going around at speed, pulling the moisture off the track like we see the LMP3 cars do here. And Taylor in the 10, going backwards, Cal.
Yeah, I got a feeling those LMP3 cars are on wet weather tires because Ricky Taylor's standing still in terms of acceleration and speed. And you'd have to think with the championship on the line, how much risk do you want to take? They'll be looking at the radar, maybe telling Ricky, just hang on there, just hang out there, the weather's going to clear. Or if they feel it's going to be in for a while, do they make the call to get him a pit lane? Looks like he's staying left up the straightaway. He's going to stay out.
I think the 02 car probably on slicks as well, and the prototype beside him on
Here's
race.
What can happen. There's
31 around.
Pippo Durrani pushing hard.
Did you see the water that came out of the bodywork when Durrani went back on the racetrack? He picked that moisture up from the grass, filled that under tray, and it just came pouring out the back. I didn't realize we had that much rain, and that must have been moisture that had fallen earlier in the day. And look at this, down into turn 3, LMP3 cars side by side. Right on board the 31 up at the top, and you can see the car just twitches in the brake zone, and off Durrani goes.
Here's the championship leader, bottom right of the screen. They're making the call, I think, to get some wets on. I wonder if Richard Westbrook, with the speed that he's demonstrating, maybe that team did elect to go on the wet weather tires and roll the dice a little bit.
20 to the stop. Hannah.
Yeah, and hearing on the 01 radio of Sebastian Bourdais, that crew coming over the radio and saying, let the 5 go, we're not in the same ballpark, because the 5 seems to be the only DPI car right now actually running those wet Michelins. The rest of the prototype cars, well, they're still fighting the conditions on those slicks. You can see it in the overall balance of the car, especially looking here. That 5 seems to have that grip, and that's definitely due in part to the fact that they are on those wet Michelins.
Well, it's a game of give and take, isn't it, Calvin? If you're looking at the radar and the weather's going to be through in the next 5 or 10 minutes, you're sitting pretty right now on rain tires, but you're going to struggle at the end of the stint and vice versa.
Oh, man. Down into turn 5 there, a battle between Barnicoat and Jaminet. Jaminet also on debut here at this racetrack. As we said, they got ABS, and there's little elbows out there by Barnicoat to push the fat car just off the road there a little bit. But getting back to the lead of this race, Westbrook on those wet tyres is cutting laps 14 seconds faster than the drivers who are on slick tyres. It wouldn't take long to get a minute. 4 laps of that is going to be a minute gap. And that would give him the time to come back on pit lane should he need to change those tyres, Brian. So he can build enough of a buffer right now and play the strategy whichever way he wants to go.
Kind of having it his own way. I think the 60 of Ollie Jarvis probably came to pit road for the rain tires as well to get back out there. You see what's going on. Be the first to react to it. Be the first to respond. 10 stays on track, and man, Ricky Taylor has his hands full, and look at the contact up the hill going up the front straightaway.
Yeah, these are really sketchy conditions. Here comes the 02 there, trying to thread the needle. That's Alex Lynn still behind the wheel. So we had 3 of the DPI cars switch drivers, including the 10 championship leader of Ricky Taylor. You got Durrani behind the wheel of the 31, and Ollie Jarvis behind the wheel of the championship leading number 60. Look how tight this is as they climb the hill. Little touch.
Oh, little contact there. And what you saw a little bit later down in turn 1 is the LMP3 car back around the outside of the 02, and that's the difference between the rain tire on the LMP3 machine and the slick tires on the 02 for Alex Lynn.
What you're going to notice here in these conditions is a variety of lines that are being chosen by the drivers. Typically, if you're on slick tires in wet conditions, you don't want to be on the traditional racing line. They don't go together. You're looking for more abrasiveness in the circuit. So you see Ricky Taylor coming off some of these corners in the middle of the road, so you can get more power down, more traction off that part of the racetrack. Bundle of LMP3 cars. Their highlights on these cars with the side view mirrors, the side end plates. Orange is for LMP3, the blue side plates and side view mirrors is for LMP2. Same thing in the GTD classes. GTD green, GTD Pro red. So it's hard to see in these conditions sometimes which class is which.
And you talk about looking for grip, Calvin. I can tell you where grip is not, and that's on anything that's painted. So these drivers, and we saw this earlier in some of the other series that ran this morning, anything painted, especially the curbing, the braking curbing down into turn 5, if you touch that with the right side tires, you're going for a ride.
It's amazing. It's like stepping out of your car on an icy morning and putting your foot with some nice fresh shoes on an icy patch, and just nothing, no one's at home. It just takes all the grip away from you. So the drivers really have to be careful here. Ricky Taylor, this is critical moment in this championship chase. The whole season is on the line right here. If he makes a critical error, the day and the championship could be over.
And you see right there, Ricky Taylor being passed, just freight trained by 3 LMP3 cars, all with the rain tires. There's Taylor just holding on, coming through turn 13, the rear of that Acura DPI, trying to step out, everything he can do to control it. I'm sure he's working with the traction control. Are they going to make the decision? No, he stays out. And the problem, Calvin, isn't just the water on the racetrack. It also inhibits you from getting the temperature in those slick tires that you need to find grip. If they don't get warm, they don't get soft, they don't have grip.
Oh, that's a real key point there. You've got to be able to load the tire, get the energy into it, get the heat into it. And if you're tiptoeing around the racetrack, that temperature is not building. You saw the points as they run. It would be just a 1-point margin between the 60 and the 10 if they stay in the same positions. But a lot of racing left here this afternoon.
A lot of racing left, but when you look at the history of Wayne Taylor Racing in the number 10, they have won just about every race that you can imagine on just about every racetrack. In fact, every racetrack that you can imagine, with the exception of Road America. They have never won at this racetrack. Your ride on board the number 9, your championship leader in GTD Pro, Mathieu Jaminet, in the rain at Road America. We'll be back. Looking down on a very soggy Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, from our WeatherTech aerial coverage. Gives you a good idea of how long and flowing this racetrack is. It also gives you a good idea of the spectators. They want to see the action, and they're getting plenty of it. In the pits right now, a lot of teams going to rain tires, and we watched Ricky Taylor aboard the 10, who had been struggling, Calvin, during that break, just say enough is enough. The 10 and both Cadillac Racing with Chip Ganassi Cadillacs were in to go to rain tires as well.
Well, you have to look at the pace of Richard Westbrook, who continues to lead this race. When he's running 14 to 16 seconds a lap faster than you, it's like, well, he does that for 4 laps. He's got a free pit stop for us, even if it starts to dry out, and you're running the risk of falling off the road when you're in the thick of a championship battle. So this is the right call. I'm surprised they waited as long as they did. They're there, they're feeling it, they're looking at the radar, they're asking Ricky, can you hang on? He's saying, yes, touchy probably, I can keep going, but you just get to a point you got to reverse, because look at Westbrook, he's nearly going to lap these guys. That's him coming down the hill into turn 8, and they're just exiting, going into the carousel.
Well, and the other thing about Richard Westbrook, he knows what he's got. He's been out there for several laps, even with the rain tires for the 01, the 02, and the 10. They've got to learn the racetrack.
What are you hearing, Matty?
And the weather just keeps changing. Now, Ricky Taylor was staying out because the temperatures had come up. Wayne Taylor told me he felt that the other cars that were on rain tires and the fact that the rain had not picked up, it was going to help keep the track in some semblance of order, that they wouldn't pit for rain tires. But Ricky reported in about 2 laps ago that it had really picked up, and he was starting to have to be a little more gingerly going around different parts of the racetrack. That's why they made the call to come in, and then it was like follow the leader. 3 other prototypes came in as well for Michelin rain tires.
I think gingerly is an understatement, but let's go back to championship. The conversations that we had early on, we saw the problem for Meyer-Shank Racing when Tom Blomqvist was behind the car, massive both setup changes, both with the suspension and the aerodynamics. They came back in, went to rain tires early, shortly after Richard Westbrook did, and now look how they cycle through. The 60 up in second on the order, and the 10 back in 4th in class, and that's going to have championship implications. I talked to Mike Shank before the weekend. He said, our goal is finish in front of the 10.
Pass in. GTD Pro, that's for the lead there. Mathieu Jeminet aboard the number 9 Pfaff Porsche. See Barnicoat ahead, just skate straight on. Even though they got ABS, it's not going to totally turn the car for you if you're exceeding the speed and the threshold of the grip level.
And that's just it. You think everything is under control, and all of a sudden you hit one of those puddles, you get up on that paint a little bit in the brake zone, and all of a sudden you're in that ABS, and the stop is going to take considerably longer. It's not going to allow the wheels to lock up, but you're not going to have that same deceleration rate. It's exactly what we saw just there in the 14.
Yeah, and I tell you what, with the 9 car, they've been on a roll of late. They've had 4 wins this year. They're coming off 2 consecutive victories. If they should win again here today, that would mean all they need to do at the final 2 rounds of the championship, Brian, is just show up and score last place points. So they're in a great position right now. We talk about moving day for the prototypes, but that could be a big moving day for this squad if they continue to operate like they are.
And the thing about the Pfaff Motorsports Porsche and that team, wow, just
Scandinavian flag,
absolutely, is that they've won on just about every kind of racetrack. You see the 0-1 flashing through turn 13. I'm going to think those rain tires helped, Hannah.
Yeah, I would say so too. And standing here with Sebastian Bourdais, who handed over the reins to your co-driver, Renger van der Zand. Just now, that car, though, getting those wet tires. What were the conditions out there for you, like slicks with the mist coming down?
I mean, it wasn't too bad, but it wasn't supposed to last. So we just, they kept telling me it's going to get better, it's going to stop, it's going to get better. And then it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And at some point, you got to, take the pill and suck it up, pretty much. But yeah, man, it was atrocious. Like, obviously you're trying to stay alive in the championship, and on slicks in those conditions, there's no room for error. So as soon as you just lock a wheel or anything, it's off in the grass or worse. So yeah, it was tough. But that Cadillac 01 seemed to be faster than anything else out there, at least in those conditions. Now, obviously, Renger's gonna have to put on a show to catch up. The 5 looks like heroes right now, right? So I mean, hopefully the 60 has some kind of debacle. Otherwise, that championship's folded.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's Sebastian Bourdais, of course, like he said. Man, these conditions out here, both taxing on the drivers and the strategists up here on the box.
GTD battle for the lead down into turn 8. Mercedes versus Mercedes. The 32 has the lead. That's Mike Skeen. He has the lead, and his teammate has the lead in the championship in GTD. That's Stephen McAleer, and Giucadella just behind in the 79 WeatherTech. He's never been to this racetrack before.
He hasn't, but he's coming off a brilliant victory last year. One of the biggest GT3 races in the world is the Spa 24. He won that with Mercedes last weekend, so he's on a high. Comes to this racetrack with the only track time on a simulator. So, but it doesn't take him long, as we've seen at many racetracks before. But right now, the heat is on the 32 car. They got the championship lead by a slender 40 points, but they're yet to see victory lane. This is the first time this squad has done a full season campaign. They've been excellent, but it's getting down to the wire. They really need to try and get a big win here in the last 3 rounds of this championship.
And for Daniel Juncadella, he actually had an opportunity to race somewhere else this weekend, and he looked at this opportunity and was like, yeah, I'm Cooper's teammate. I've got this other chance, but I've never been to Road America. Guess where I'm going? I'm going to Road America. We talk about the magic of this racetrack. It really is worldwide. Everybody looks at Road America and goes, if I have the opportunity, I'm headed to Wisconsin.
Yeah, and it's a big race for WeatherTech, right? They support our championship. Cooper does an excellent job coming off a big win here last year in GT Le Mans with Matt Campbell. So they got a ton of guests here. A lot of their employees are here watching this event, and they want to bring it home for them once again. And they got the right man behind the wheel right now, because Danny Juncadella is one of the absolute best Mercedes pilots that they have. He's a Mercedes factory AMG driver. And you just plug and play him. He is really rapid.
I'm just hoping the dog's holding on.
I think Juncadalla's got a little bone in front of him, like a carrot in front of the donkey. He's got a big dog bone right there. He wants the lead of this race.
He does, and now it's time to test the ABS down into turn 5. Skiing to the driver's left, blocks that route through, and just in front of them, the 3 of the GTD Pro Corvette. And that's the thing I think is so interesting. And Juncadella up the inside. Is he going to get it done? 6 is a difficult place to get it done, and he does. And when you talk about lack of experience on this racetrack, he made it look easy. But what I found interesting, Calvin, is that he was able to do it on the normal line. You would think there would be less grip there in these damp conditions.
Yeah, well, I mean, skiing was off to the right side, right? That would be where you'd normally be turning in. So sometimes when you go on the inside there in the dry, it's kind of dusty, it's dirty, you don't have the grip, but it actually worked out for Juncadella there. And I think Mike Skiing, he's doing a nice job here. He looks super smooth. He's not panicking. He knows about the championship picture for his teammate. He had to miss a race due to COVID, so he's not tied with his teammate, Stephen McAleer, in the points chase right now. So he's got to do the right things. Think about the big picture. Think about what the 16 car is that are currently running 4th with Jan Halen. They're the closest pursuer in this championship, and just try and bring it home. There's a long way to go in this race. You don't want to fight it with someone who's excellent in these conditions like Danny Juncadella.
And you really have to measure the championship, don't you, versus your desire to win. For Mike Skiing, yes, that team has not won this year, and they want a victory before the year is over, but you really want the bigger trophy, which is the championship. So you got to kind of measure your pride versus what the team wants at the end, and that's the championship.
You want race wins, but the championship is so big. I remember talking to Jan Magnussen at a banquet when he won with Antonio Garcia without getting a win, and he said, well, he's holding the championship trophy. He said, this kind of feels like a win, when I was kind of teasing him about it.
Absolutely. Let's revisit the past. I mean, it was on the brakes hard, and we talk about the car being unweighted at the top of the hill in the brake zone.
See, they're skiing, just looking for traction. They're trying to get the bite off the corner. Now he's on the racing line, which is slicker than that inside lane. And Juncadella just plows it down the inside. It really wasn't fought hard by Mike Skiing. He knows that Juncadella is behind the wheel of this car, and he'll be told that by his team. And he's just going to sit and ride this one out a little bit longer, just try and stay in touch with him. And you can see Juncadella's pace. He's now in front of Jordan Taylor, which is a pro car, so he is flying right now.
And of course, for Mike Skiing, and a problem for the 20 and off and on, and that's going to leave some moisture on the tires that he's going to have to get dried off a little bit. An eventful weekend for that team, but back underway right now. No harm, no foul. Let's see if we see what happens. That's turn 7.
Just understeers off. That's a difficult corner in the dry, let alone in these conditions. So he just skated a little bit wide. Then, as you said, Brian, once you hit those painted curves, it's taking all of the grip away.
That's Shearer. He's back underway. As we said, no harm, no foul. Lots of stories, lots of drama, and all kinds of championship implications that Mother Nature has brought us from here at Road America. We'll be right back.
the sort of like, what have they got, what are they doing?
I think it's going to be a golden era for motorsports.
I think they look phenomenal. They've got fantastically different styling cues. You can definitely tell the difference between our Cadillac and the Porsche. You can definitely notice them on track. You've got the different sounds.
All the brands which are going to join, I think we haven't seen it in more than 20 years. And those who will win the big races and the championships, they will have won something really special.
2 cars running is always better than one. You know, the LMDH manufacturers really bought into this shared hybrid platform, and it's not developed just for our cars.
We wanted to make sure that the learnings were shared so that we didn't each have to take a duplicate path to get to the same answer. We could grow with each other.
We're all really excited for where global sports car prototype racing is heading. So to see another one and to see them both here on the same day just kind of really lets you know it's real and it's almost here.
Best line I've heard about the future in GTP, it's real and it's almost here, by Dan Cameron. I mean, and the cars look spectacular and interesting. In talking to the drivers, Sebastian Bourdais had said he thought it was going to be considerably different from the DPI, but in reality, he said the personality is very much the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about getting that hybrid system working correctly by the time we get to the Rolex 24 in January. So a lot of work to be done. I think it's great that there's a collaboration between the manufacturers with Acura and BMW, as well as Porsche and Cadillac hitting the racetrack here in the last month. So they're walking towards a common goal. We're going to have reliability, we're going to have performance come the start of next year, and it is a very exciting era with Lamborghini joining in 2024 as well.
Under full course caution, AMR safety team picking up what we refer to as a cheese wedge, and that's absolutely appropriate here in Wisconsin. And you see it come off the 90 LMP3 car right there, right in the middle of the racetrack in Canada corner. So that needs to be removed.
Irony here is that's from the JDC Miller car, and they're leading this race right now with Westbrook. The last thing he wanted was a caution.
Yeah, the cheese wedge from a team car in a different class. We'll be right back to more IMSA action from Road America. Still a long way to go. An hour and 25 minutes left to play. Prototype pit stops now underway. Pit lane has opened for prototypes, and our race leader, Richard Westbrook, has taken the invitation to come to pit road, and it looks like slicks on the wall, Calvin.
Yeah, this racetrack is now starting to dry out a little bit, and I think they may keep Westy. No, Tristan Vautier is going to jump in now. Westy's done a superb job here. Excellent stint by the man who loves these conditions. Now it's going to be his French teammate taking over the reins. This is going to be sketchy. He hasn't seen any action yet today. Been going out on this racetrack, which is still very damp on these sticker tires, as we call them. They haven't been scrubbed. Maybe that could have been an option, knowing that the rain was coming here this weekend for the teams.
Well, and that's interesting. You bring up a very good point. Those sticker tires, you can see them as they went on. There's a sheen to them. That's mold release. It's a chemical. And now the 01 in as well. And a lot of times it's hard to get that mold release off in the dry, but in the rain, we talked about this earlier, you need that loading in the tire to generate heat. You need heat to get rid of that tire mold release. So interesting. 60 in as well.
See if they're just doing tire changes and fuel. They got a bit more better track position now, so they don't want to just keep adjusting on that race car, otherwise they'd lose that track position. And Philippe Albuquerque is now jumping in for Ricky Taylor.
Well, that's interesting and somewhat surprising, I would say, to get Albuquerque back in. Perhaps Ricky Taylor just saying, you know what, he's better than I am in these conditions right now. I think this is our best shot.
Well, Ricky wanted to be in the car for transition to rain, but pretty much as soon as he got out there under the caution, it was coming down, so there really wasn't a lot of transition. It was immediate. But this is what I love about that team between Philippe and Ricky. There's no ego there. They work towards the common goal. If you're not feeling it, and I discussed this with Townsend in one of the, I think it was Watkins Glen weekend, he said, no, you know, you got to get out there and go. I said, I understand what you're saying. If you're a pro driver, you got to be able to get in there and do the job, but if you feel your teammate has got that little edge in these conditions, you're not quite comfortable, turn over the reins. That's how you win championships. No one's going to fire you. Wayne Taylor's not going to fire Ricky or Philippe if they say, you know what, I think Ricky or conversely Philippe is a little bit better today.
Yeah, you've got to just look at it and say who's got the upper hand. In GTD Pro, the 9 has the upper hand right now, but Jack Hawksworth was absolutely magic in that car early on, Hannah.
And he handed the wheel over to his co-driver, Ben Barnico here. The conditions today, how mentally taxing for that is, of course, the engineer and the strategist, but you as a driver knowing that Mother Nature is just playing with all of our heartstrings down here. And are you liking what you're seeing with your co-driver behind the wheel right now?
Yeah, so far it's going well. It's been a difficult race right from the start. Obviously we're on slicks, it was sprinkling, it was getting drier, and it was getting wetter. Same now that Ben's out there with wet. It's 1 minute it's raining, then it's drying out again. But at minute it's been a great race. Guys doing a good job on the pit wall. Ben's doing a great job behind the wheel now, and yeah, who knows how the rest of this race is going to play out. But we're in a good position, and yeah, we're fighting for the win. So what more can you ask for?
You've been obviously went through a rigorous rehabilitation to come back in the second race here, be contending for this win. I mean, was this something that you thought was a potential possibility, or do you think it would be a little bit more slow moving to get back behind the wheel like this?
No, I hope that I was going to get back as soon as it was up to me. I'd have been back with race 2 earlier, right? But obviously you have to be careful with these things, and yeah, the team have done a really good job getting me back up to speed and everything, and I feel good, I feel comfortable. The car's obviously working really, really well, and yeah, Ben's out there doing the business right now, so hopefully we can end up in victory lane.
Well, he's handed the reins off to his co-driver, so Jack Hawksworth here in the Vassar Sullivan Lexus pit. Now, you know, in the passenger seat, watching the rest of the race play out as the rain has stopped here at Road America completely.
And with these speeds around this racetrack, I expect it to dry even more pretty soon. So now GTD cars onto pit road.
Yeah, everyone's going to be making that move off the wet weather tires to the slicks. Otherwise, you're just going to burn them down pretty quickly here. So could be some shuffling here, depending on when they last made a pit stop, because fuel could be the determining factor on how long you're going to be stationary versus the tire change. See scuffs going on. This machine, is this the 32 possibly? Yes, it is.
Looking at an hour and 18 minutes to go, Calvin, you're not going to make it to the end from here.
You're not if it's dry. I mean, these GTD machines run right about an hour. You can get to about 65 minutes on full fuel save, but you get that automatically if the track is wet. Yeah. You're rolling out of the power earlier, getting to the brake pedal down in some of these long braking zones. But I think this racetrack is going to have more pace than that, so it's going to be, we could see some yellow though, so not inconceivable. This could be the last pit stop of the day, but I think you're probably going to need another one, Brian.
It stays dry, that should definitely be the case. And look at this drive off of pit lane. It looks like chaos, But the rules are pretty specific. When you come out, if there's a car in the fast lane, which is the far left lane, if you're overlapping it at all on your way out, you have to go behind it. And if it's in front of you, you have to let it in. So the rules are pretty strict about that. The officials watch it closely, and they certainly were at that point in time. We're going to watch it closely when we go back to green. Take a quick break, and we'll be back to more IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car action from Road America. Has your portable outdoor equipment been damaged by ethanol-blended pump gas? Just one can of VP Fix-It fuel cleans and rejuvenates the fuel system, providing for easier startups and reliable performance. Available at a retailer near you. Hey, Cup is in Michigan. Don't forget about that. Bubba Wallace yesterday, his first career pole. Pretty impressive stuff there in Michigan. Always has some fantastic speeds, and big celebration there for Bubba Wallace. I know he's pumped about that. And why wouldn't you be? That follows here today on NBC. So take a look at the playoff standings, because we're right in the heat of the playoffs in NASCAR. There it is right there. Chase Elliott out front, 4 wins, and that's pretty impressive indeed. Ross Chastain in there. Find your favorite driver. It may very well be in the playoff standings.
Big name just outside right now, headed by Kevin Harvick aboard the number 4. He really wants to grab a win and be in that championship game. Still on top of his game, so much speed.
And what can you do in Michigan to get there, to break through and get in? That follows us here today on USA. Don't miss it. Now, what kind of a racetrack do we have right now as we're getting ready to go back to green? Matt, the 5-car magic in that wet condition.
It was indeed magic. And Richard Westbrook, you've handed the car over to Tristan Vautier. Great move going to the Michelin wets early.
Yeah, yeah, you obviously got to do a lot of thinking out there, and so I was just in communication with the guys, and it was getting on the limit in the slick. So we had a conversation, and I just said, if there's any more, if you see more on the radar, we've got to take a gamble and go for it. Because the worst thing you can do at Elkhart Lake is pit twice in one stint. So want to avoid that at all cost, and it was just a case of looking after the wets. Well, it was too dry for the wet, and then it came good, and yeah, just delighted, but still a long way to go. Cheers.
Thanks. Brian?
Definitely a long way to go. We talk about championships on the way in and what they'll be like on the way out. All we can look at is what they are like now, and that's the 60 in front of the 10. Where they need to be, like Mike Shank told me, we just need to finish in front of the 10, but the 01 in front of them, the 01 really needs to win here today to stay in it, don't they, Cal?
They do. They really need to gap the 60 by about 30 points here today. So you get the win, that's going to certainly help that cause. And they got a very fast race car. Bourdais certainly was on fire there during that opening stint, going from the tail end of the DPI field at the green to running in second. They made the decision based on the information they thought they were getting from the radar that it was going to dry out. So he had to just stay with it, but they got a fast car. Let's take a look here. Oh, there's someone doing the wave by, I believe, and just got clipped and forced off the road and into one of those signage boards. The trouble when you get in the wave by and you got cars and drivers try to weave around, generate some tire temp and keep the tires clean. So not a smooth weekend so far for the defending race champions here, Pippo Durrani and the Whelen Engineering team.
Yeah, it's not what you want to see, and I know WeatherTech makes spectacular products that mold to all types of floor contours in your car, but now they make one that molds to the Cadillac.
Oh, he's got a big
front
damage.
end.
He's locking up the right front there. So
he's got to come in. Has to.
Oh, devastating blow.
Richard Westbrook just said it. You don't want to have to pit twice during a stint, and this was coming back to the green. Hopefully they can get in, just pull that off and send him right back out. He'll be at the tail end of the field, but he should not lose a lap if there's not any significant damage as Tristan Fautier leads into turn 1. And look right behind the 60, the blue and black number 10, Philippe Albuquerque.
Well, he can see the championship leader right in front of him, and he knows that's not good. He wants to see him in the rear view facing camera or the side view mirrors at the end of the day. So a little bit of work to do here. Obviously, strategies were different. The 60 car elected to go to those wet weather tires a little bit earlier in the last stint. Got that track position on the 10, but long way to go as the 31 is released.
Well, it's really simple. I mean, forget the two cars at the front of the prototype line and the one at the back, because really the 10 needs to be in front of the 60 and the 60 needs to be in front of the 10. Everybody else are just extra pieces on the playing board, but they can have an effect in this because just behind them is the 02, Earl Bamber, and there's probably not a more aggressive driver on the racetrack other than his teammate Ringer Van de Zande in the 01, but they've been aggressive all weekend long and they want to move forward.
Well, I think the Cadillac Racing 01 and 02 have displayed a lot of pace here this weekend. So, you know, for Earl Bamber, you know, they're sitting fourth in the championship, very much a remote. They'd have to win out and have everyone else have disaster to be in the championship game. So they're looking for victories before they make the move to LMDH for next year in the GTB class. So that's what his sights will be set on here this afternoon. But the battle is intensifying up front. So we see Van der Sande starting to put the heat on Tristan Vautier. Here's a little bobble. He's sideways coming off Canada corner.
Yeah, he's going to get him, I think, side by side. Vautier, is he giving up? No, he doesn't. Van der Zande has to, which is a rare sight, and now he looks back down the inside into 14.
Yeah, and the championship leader, Jarvis, there just sits there and says, okay, maybe I can take advantage, but I don't want to get wrapped up in this little scuffle either.
Looks to me like the 01 working a little bit better than the 5. Vautier defensive early in that stint, and now Ringer Van de Zande and the white and black 01 needs to just kind of
they're almost touching. Bamber on Albuquerque goes to the inside of Jarvis for the move. That was wild right there. Bamber was attempting to get around the 10, and the 10 has its sights head on the car in front of him of Jarvis. Wow, that was close.
And the 10 has done what they needed to do. He's gotten clear, but that was close. You talk about commitment, risking it all. You saw it right there.
Wow, I thought Bamber was going to make the move, and suddenly Philippe Albuquerque, so late on the brakes, just dives to the inside for the apex of turn 1.
Jarvis under attack now from Earl Bamber. Take you back. Here's the contact between the 01 and the 5 coming through 13. That Ansringer Van de Zande trying to get the best of Tristan Vautier. That was dramatic, but turn one was even more dramatic.
Yeah, watching the backdrop here, you got Bamber there trying to make a move on Albuquerque. Albuquerque's defending, and suddenly it looked like Jarvis just got on the brakes a little bit early, and Albuquerque said, okay, and not only am I defending, I'm attacking, getting around the championship leader. Watch this, how far he comes from. Bamber right there, they touch right there.
It took me by complete surprise. I thought there was no way they would get past the 60. I thought the battle was between the 02 and the 10, but all of a sudden, it was reminiscent of the move that Albuquerque made at Watkins Glen. Just total commitment, sends it down to the inside.
Tell you what's going to be total commitment is Tristan Vautier. They haven't had a win this year. They led the championship early after Sebring. Round 2 of this championship with some solid results, but been a bit of a dry spell here the last 3 or 4 rounds of this championship, and now they've got the track position and the opportunity to score a big win on what is essentially the home track for JDC Miller Motorsports that runs this effort for Mustang Sampling.
Every time a pass is made amongst these top 5 cars, the championship complexion changed, the 60 dropping back, and I'm wondering if they went to a higher downforce setting on the aerodynamics, because the 60 just didn't seem to have the top speed that the 02 behind him did, and problems for the bodywork on the 12. They had issues early on and had lost part of the under tray of that car.
And Thielitz,
yeah,
this is his home track, had a ton of success here, couple of poles in recent years, but that car is probably losing a fair bit of its downforce. You can see the diffuser strakes are completely bent and one is missing.
I think I know where the one that's missing is.
Oh, just got in there super deep, run straight across the bows of the 57 and Philip Ellis, and Ellis had nowhere to go, and basically the nose of this Mercedes is going to take over those strakes on the rear diffuser of the Lexus.
Had nothing to do on Ellis's part. He let the 12 go by, and as he turned underneath it, the 12 continued to slow down, and that's what created the contact. Be interesting to see if that has a effect on the balance for Thielitz. That car in the wars today.
On board here with the 01. Leading, there's a championship within a championship in GTD, which is the Sprint Cup. This is the second from last round of the Sprint Cup this year, and Brian Sellers Madison's now have a very healthy lead there, over 200 points, and could be a big day for them and maybe sealing the deal before we get to VIR.
Earl Bamber closer than he's been to Ollie Jarvis in the 60. You're watching the battle for the lead back up to 4th and 5th, and you'll see that red and black Cadillac beginning to press as they get down towards the end of the front straightaway. We'll see if Bamber can take a position away from the 60, and if he can, it's going to make it a long, long day for the Meyershank team.
It is, as Tom Blomqvist said during his interview, just don't seem to have the speed in the race car here today. Had a solid qualifying run, but not scintillating yesterday. Lined up 3rd on the grid, and it just had massive problems in the early stint. Went 30 seconds down in about 30 minutes of this race to the 10 car that was leading from the pole. Made those adjustments, and they're just trying to find the sweet spot. They've still got maybe one more stop to play with in terms of make some critical adjustments to this car to find the pace and try and get around that 10 car before the end of this race. Little lock up there from Jarvis.
And Earl Bamber kind of making a move to the inside in 5, but with that bad drive off the corner, Jarvis is under attack, and the Cadillac looks like it just puts the power down so well.
Well, it's renowned as being a more compliant car. It can run a slightly higher ride height and still get grip. The chassis underneath the Acura is the Orica chassis that runs very stiff, likes to be very close to the ground. So we talk about this race circuit and the speeds. It's actually quite bumpy now in place. It's going to be resurfaced at the end of the year, which could really fire this to maybe the fastest track that we run at, ahead of Canadian Tire Motorsports Park come next year's championship rounds. But right now, the Cadillac seems to be very well suited. They run 1-2 with the 10 car running 3rd, and Lynn putting the pressure on the championship leader for P4.
Yeah, great stuff from here at Road America. Earl Bamber is going to need to watch his P's and Q's at the exit of turn 1, well outside track limits, and he was warned several times in practice and had laps taken away. So I'm sure the officials' eyes are on him, as all the fans watching intently here at Road America. We'll be right back. NFL season kicks off Thursday, September 8th on NBC and Peacock with the Bills battling the Super Bowl champs, the Rams. Then on Sunday Night Football, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers take on the Cowboys. Can't believe it's NFL season already. I'm sure you're like well hooked into it. Your wife is probably.
Who's that Patrick guy who plays for the Chiefs? What was his?
I don't know. The wide receiver.
Teasing Brian, who's not well versed in the NFL structure of the teams and the superstars.
Was never a football player. Looking down from our WeatherTech aerial coverage, and you can see the dry line down through the back portion of the racetrack from the Kink down to Canada Corner, and it seems like it's dry enough in these places that passes are not a problem, just still slightly damp. Weather seems to have moved out of the area, but still just under an hour to go, 59 minutes and change as you ride on board the number 9, the fat Porsche, Mathieu Jaminet behind the wheel, 14 just in front, Ben Barnicoat. And the Lexus so strong at this racetrack and has been for the last several years.
It really has, and for Ben Barnicoat, as we mentioned earlier, he's never raced here before. He did do a test with the team when Jack Hawksworth was away with injury, so that really is a big test to have here. You get so few laps here, Brian, during the course of the race weekend. A couple of nice practice sessions, but you're not lapping that many times with the length of this circuit, so to get a jump start on that in terms of the setup and giving Ben some track time was really leapfrogging them to the position they currently sit leading GTD Pro.
Now the leaders coming through that lead battle in GTD Pro, and it just shows you the ebb and flow.
I don't know about that move by Barnicoat. I know he wants to defend the inside lane, but that is getting super risky there with Van der Zande on the attack on the leader. I think you'd want to redo on that one if you were thinking it through again.
Yeah, you think about the closing rate, 30 miles an hour, maybe close to 35, even 40 as you head into the braking zone down there. And if you're in the prototype, you've already made the decision and you're committed. There's nothing you can do at that point in time.
There isn't, and you need, with the speed they're carrying, you need that length of the brake zone to get the job done. If suddenly someone shortcuts that by jumping in front of you, you're literally going to run right over the top of them. So that was a bit risky there. I think he needs to think that one through again if he's in a similar situation, or maybe the team will be spotting and giving him the information. There's not one, it's 2 prototypes coming down the inside.
And from that high shot, you could look back to the 3rd place car, Philippe Albuquerque, how he got hung up at the entry to the Kink. We've seen it here time and time again. Traffic can add as much as 3.5 seconds to your lap time versus one that you would run in the clean. So it's just a matter of where you happen to catch it. As you look down, you see the 0-1 of Ringer Van der Zande able to work past the number 16, the GTD Porsche from Wright Motorsports. He caught that car in a good place, and obviously this is where you want to go past the slower traffic, and that's down the front straight or down the back straight.
Yeah, 3 times these prototypes hit 180. This is one of them down into the brake zone for turn 1, so a good opportunity to clear some of this traffic. See there, Vardier slides between the 2. Now he's got Van der Zande right in his tail. Van der Zande is going to try and take advantage of this traffic scenario to maybe make the move for the lead. Again, talking about the big picture of the championship, the 0-1 needs to win. So you can't just throw it all in and throw it all away. You've got to be calculating with the move, but they need the big point. They've got to cut into that championship lead to set up a potential championship win at Petit Le Mans.
Let me give you another need. The 5 needs to win. They have been winless all season long, and for that team, for both of those drivers, I'm sure they're feeling the heat, and they need to perform. A win would really kind of help settle down the silly season as we come to a close with just a couple of races left.
Yeah, and that's another one of the teams that are committed to the new era of LMDH and the GTP class next year, but with Porsche. So they're going to be the customer Porsche team alongside the Penske Porsche 2-car operation here next year. So that's a big move for that team, big commitment, and you know Westy and Vardier would love to be a part of it.
On board the 60, Oliver Jarvis.
This carousel just goes on forever, falls away at the end. When you need more banking, it takes it away from you, kind of off camber there at the end. And this is the big commitment corner. This is the Kink. With no traffic, this would be flat out.
I don't think the 60, I don't think it's well balanced at all. It was a big loose in the carousel that time. You could see it from the onboard right in the middle of the corner. Ollie Jarvis well out of the throttle for a long period of time, and the car with a big yaw, rear end moving left. Good catch by Jarvis, but he's got his hands full right now, I believe.
Let's take another look at it and see what Ollie's dealing with. See the car moving around there just at the end of the fourth gear, I think it is, as he exits there, grabs fifth. High-speed stakes with the championship on the line. You're digging deep at this stage. They finished second 5 consecutive races. Won the opening round, the big one at Rolex 24, to set themselves up with the championship potential.
So here it is again. Watch this as he heads into the carousel. Listen to the throttle. There's the big twitch. That's a big twitch in the middle of the carousel.
It is, and as I said before, you're playing chicken. Okay, at this point in the race, GTD cars will get to the finish, so this should be the final stop of the day for the 9 car, unless we see weather change and they have to switch to wet weather tires. Another solid day for this group.
So you know the team on the radio, if the 14 has stayed out, telling Ben Barnicoat, give me a lap, give me a lap. If you're in clear traffic, we need you to try to build some gap so that we come in and do our pit stop, we'll have an advantage over the 9.
Yeah, this is known as the undercut, so they're going to get those fresh Michelin tires on. Let's see if there's more grip with those. I think they're scuffed, so he could be able to get... Oh, incident on the racetrack. Looks like 2 LMP3 cars. I think that's the Andretti car involved, along with our pole sitter, the 33 squad.
Yep, that's down in turn 3 and down in that braking zone. Damage to the 36, significant damage to the right side, at least the bodywork. You take a look. Actually, it's not turn 3, it's 13.
Oh, that was wild. So the Andretti car there of Gabby Chavez had had an off, gone through Billy Mitchell, grabbed one of those signs. He couldn't see where he was going, and Jakobsen had nowhere to go. So unlucky.
Talk about a game of split seconds for Jakobsen. Had he been there a half a second earlier, a half a second later, Chavez would have missed him, but just in the wrong place at the wrong time as we go full course caution.
This will be a full yellow procedure, and all of the GTD cars are now in their pit stop window. You'll see a flurry of activity, I feel, once we get to that point where the pit lane is open.
What started as such a great weekend for Malte Jakobsen with the pole, his first ever, ends like this. A problem for someone else takes him out from here at Road America.
John took. Yeah.
IMSA Racing on USA is brought to you by WeatherTech. Auto, home, pet. Find your fit at WeatherTech.com.
Welcome to Indy. Oh, the battle here, a pair up to the inside. Oh!
Play that piece again. It was really cool. So the state of the sport address always delivered here at Road America. It's one of the big things on the schedule that you don't want to miss, along with the bratwurst. But the schedule was released for 2023, and that Indianapolis Motor Speedway there in September added to the schedule. Big news.
It really is. They're going to have a Michelin Pilot Challenge race on the Saturday afternoon. They'll run into the nighttime hours, so that's going to be spectacular, 4 hours. And then we anticipate the WeatherTech race itself being an extended version of the 2-hour 40-minute that we're going to run next year, maybe a longer race, part of the Michelin Endurance Cup in subsequent years. So that's huge news to be back at the Brickyard. Wonderful calendars. You can see some iconic venues, some real special places that we get to go to once again.
And we could tell you more about the state of the sport address, but Matt Yoakum, I think you're standing by with somebody who has a little more clout and a little more inside knowledge on that.
Brian, I'm joined by IMSA President John Doonan. And you know, every stop on the schedule is a special one. But John, when we come to Road America, it's also the state of the sport. And you didn't deliver a single or a double. It was like a grand slam home run. The applause after every announcement. Which one do you feel like resonated the most with the paddock?
Well, it's always good to be back here at Road America. Great to have you back, and hi to the guys in the booth. But you're right, it was really about the schedule. It was really about our sustainability message, and also about being a place for our partners to do business. When it comes to the schedule, we're super proud to be back at our traditional places, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, of course, the Rolex 24 at Daytona, the 12 Hours of Sebring in March with our partners at Mobil 1, Watkins Glen, of course, for the Salem 6 Hour, and then Motul Petit Le Mans at our own Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta. And we've added Indianapolis, which we're very excited to be going to the Motor Speedway there, the Brickyard, in September. On the sustainability front, making a big statement, IMSA is, with a renewable fuel in the top category, GTP next year, with our partners at VP Racing Fuels. Of course, hybrid technology coming to those beautiful GTP cars that Acura, BMW, Porsche, and Cadillac have committed to, and Lamborghini coming. And then finally, you know, for a place to have 18 auto manufacturers competing, and for partners like WeatherTech and Michelin and Konica and Alta, so many folks see this as a place to market their brand, to do business with one another, and to bring potential clients to entertain them here in what, like today, has been a very exciting race.
When you look at IMSA, I view it more like sitting at the cool kids table in the lunchroom, because when you look at all the partners, more OEMs are involved in IMSA competition through the different classes than all the other major auto racing sanctioning bodies combined. And I think that says a lot about what you and your team are doing.
Well, to be part of the NASCAR family, it's about giving the automakers a place to, again, showcase their brands and their nameplates and their powertrains. But back in the office, we all have a sign on our desk, and it says cost effective, entertainment driven, automotive industry marketing tool. And we're so proud to be on NBC here, putting on a show for all the fans tuned in an absolutely packed house here at Road America.
Well, John, I appreciate it. And boy, I'll tell you what, guys, the vibe all weekend long here has been tremendous. And I think the thing that everyone keeps saying over and over, I hate to see the season end, but I can't wait for the next season to start, because there's going to be so many cool things in 2023.
I think the other thing we learned from this interview is that they're related.
The
John
twins.
Doonan and Matt Yoakum are like long-lost brothers. If Matt just had a hat on, he would have looked just like John.
See the David Hobbs signage board there. I'm sure the family is there having a good time.
Fans waving to the cameras. And what I'm looking at right now is 45 minutes to go, Calvin. What's the maximum fuel stint on a Daytona prototype?
Well, it's just under 40 minutes on max attack, a little bit over. So they're getting close to that window where they can squeak it. And it's all dependent on whether we go green flag or have any more caution. So it's very critical right now in terms of making that call.
Well, that's just it. I think we're going to go green this time by, and that's just outside the window. So do you, as you always say, if you're going to save fuel, you got to do it now from the get-go, from the very beginning of the stint. Lights off. Well, no, lights are on the safety car. So that may be the saving grace.
There you see at top of the board there, 41 minutes full fuel save. They're outside of that number. I think you have to go on the attack here and hope for some help with yellow. Certainly for Tristan Vaudier, he doesn't want to give up that track position by going fuel save right now.
I think they're going to be fortunate on this one because the GT pits are just about to open. So got ahead of myself just a little bit. That should answer the question then.
Everyone else thought we were going as well. Look at how they're stacked up here.
Too. That's in the pit lane.
Coming in the pit lane.
I thought GT pits were just about to open.
We'll get it straight. Okay, this could be the final stop of the day. They will have to just save a little bit of fuel here. Who's going to get it right here? Does anyone get an ultra-fast pit stop and get that track position? 5 car going with fresh tires. Tristan Vaudier has done an amazing job here, keeping that 5 car at the front of this pack, even though he's under attack, Hannah.
So Ringer van de Zande down and away. The 60 car in front of the
60.
10.
What a stop for the Meyer Shank group. Put the championship leaders back to the front of this pack.
It's what they needed, but what they really need is a car that's going to handle so Ollie Jarvis can keep Philippe Albuquerque behind him, because Albuquerque has been just absolutely magic in the 10. Here's the race off pit lane again. Far screen left behind the wall. Watch him come out of the lane.
Yeah, and look how tight they is. They have the selection being championship leaders. They're right at pit out, and he just cuts right across the bow of the 10 car there. And that stops that kind of overlap situation, Brian, but they released nice and tidy there. He had the gap anyway, so it wasn't even close. Great stop.
Well, and it didn't look like there was any concern at all about fuel or the 60, and that was my question. Did they have to pull early so they could get track position on the 10? It looks like it was a full load for the 60. Drama continues. It's been this way all season long. I think it's going to stay this way all the way to Petit Le Mans. Looking down on pit lane while GTD cars pit. Seems like the pits were delayed just a little bit, and now a red light at the end of pit lane. Good catch there.
Yeah.
By the 27 to not run that red light, because if you run the red light at pit out, that is painful.
You really need the communication. You think, oh, there's a red light, you stop right, but when you're in the heat of the battle, it's so easy just to breeze through that. You're so focused on where am I going to come out, how's the car going to be, what did we do at the racetrack, resetting things within the cockpit. Really important that the team is also radioing to the driver. Watch for the red light that could be closed as Danny Juncadella now gets a reset here. Very fast race car. Can WeatherTech repeat with another GT victory here on their home soil?
Yeah, and you hope that the 79, Juncadella, didn't run the red light at pit out. Everybody behind him stopped, but you just don't know exactly when it came on.
I think we've called him about 5 different surnames today with our pronunciation. That was a new one, but I've had 3 goes at it.
Smith.
Danny.
I like it.
Danny boy.
Between my Texan speak and your English speak. See if we can see the light. So he's just in front of the 27.
Oh, it's red, I think. That's flashing red at the top, isn't it? Yeah, he went through.
Uh-oh.
He went through a red light. That's not good news for WeatherTech Racing.
To wait and see what the officials have to say about that. Meanwhile, the 9 trying to get back to the front of the GTD Pro Field. It's a Porsche. We've had a lot of Porsches on the racetrack so far this weekend. Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by Visit the Cayman Islands. Race number 1, Parker Thompson leads into turn 1. It doesn't take long for a little argy-bargy. The number 2, Sean Varwig, and the 58, TJ Fisher, pushing and shoving on each other down in turn 3, and then Riley Dickinson and 88 of Hutton McKenna up in turn 6. A little door banging action and some pretty expensive cars. Then big crash. 30 of Dominic Lequeux. They're at the exit of the kink. They're never small when they're down there. And then a little bit later, Kai Van Berlo dumps the number 34 of Varun Choksi. He goes around in turn 1, and then at the end, though, the checker flags fall on Parker Thompson. He wins overall, and in the pro category, the 84 of Marco Cerrone bests the 99 of Alan Metney, and Mark Kwame takes the win in AM. Race number 2 this morning in very damp conditions. Battle for the lead, number 9, Parker Thompson, 6 of Trenton Estep, down into turn 1, and Estep gets the better of the 9 of Thompson. Takes the lead down in turn 3 with the outside move and never looked back. Alan Metney, a problem, drops the left side wheels on the way into the braking zone in turn 3, mired in the kitty litter. And we talk about this racetrack and the paint down into turn 5. Lee Keane in the red, number 12 into the back. That's Kai Van Berlo in the 3, and the 53 of Riley Dickinson, and Van Berlo gets the worst of it. He's stuck in the kitty litter, but for Trenton Estep, he takes the checkers and the victory. It was a wild one. Cerrone wins in Pro-Am, and that's what makes Carrera Cup North America so exciting. There is always action all around the racetrack in that series. We've had plenty of action here, and we are back to green. IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Series action, 5 different classes here at Road America. Brian Till, Calvin Fish with you, Matt Yoakum, Hannah Newhouse down in pit lane, and right now, Ollie Jarvis where he needs to be, out in front of the 10 and leading this race, and you get a bonus point, let's say, Calvin, 350 to win, 320 for second. So if they could leave here with another 30 points in hand, that would be huge.
That would be massive. That means they could probably secure the title with a top 4 finish, even if the 10 car won at Petit Le Mans, but still a long way to go. I think the key factor is this was a team that was struggling with 30 seconds behind in the first 30 minutes of this race. Now we get to about 30 minutes to go in this race. They have the lead. They've turned things around big time. An excellent pit stop there. Great execution.
Understanding the 79 did run the red light at pit out. That's going to be a stop plus 60 seconds. Also the 90 and the 36 in LMP3 some working in a closed pit, and that too will be a stop plus 60 for those two cars. So big problem for the 79.
Oh, that is huge. I mean, they had a car that was capable of winning here today. Youngadayo was just amazing around this circuit on his debut, and they've thrown it all away with that little faux pas coming out of pit lane.
Ollie Jarvis through turn 3. Twin Acuras lead the field here. Cadillacs 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And for Ollie Jarvis, he has to remember what happened to this team at Watkins Glen. That move, that power move by Philippe Albuquerque as 79 serves. And talk about a power move, 0-1. Ringer Van de Zande on the move, trying to get past the 5, does, and then the 5 takes it back.
Yeah, and watch for the 0-2 at Banbury. He's looking at this intently, seeing if there's an opportunity for him as well. That was some feisty racing there between the Frenchman and the Dutchman. Forward is P3 on the road right now with Jarvis out front. Acura 1-2 right now. Didn't expect to see that today, particularly after how they performed the middle part of this race. Seems like the racetrack may be coming at the Acuras here a little bit as it dries out in these conditions. Big question mark is fuel. They're right on the edge of making it if they stay on max attack. The other question is, how did the 60 execute that pit stop a little bit quicker than everyone else and get that track position?
Well, and that's what we were saying as we were watching it. Did they get a full fuel load? And GTD now heating up. Ben Barnicoat in the 14 leads in the GTD Pro category. Bill Auberlen in GTD. Here's how the lead changes in GTD.
Philip Ellis down to the inside, deep on the brakes, and Bill Auberlen, the winningest driver in IMSA history at 65 wins, looking for another one. Didn't leave much of a gap, but Ellis just stoved it in there. Gives him the elbows out into the side door there. Bill will not like this. We go side by side for the lead in turn 1.
Wow. Philippe Albuquerque, we saw the move at Watkins Glen where it was full commitment. That was full commitment, and the officials aren't going to like that once again. At the exit of turn 1, there are some white hash marks to drivers left. If you go beyond them, you are beyond track limits, and Philippe Albuquerque is down in Milwaukee.
He is, but he didn't gain anything from it. So that was how much commitment there is right now for this championship. It is so important. The 10 has to get around the 60, Matt.
Not only drama on the racetrack, also on the pit box. Now, we documented how the 60 Myers-Shank Acura got out first over the 10 of Wayne Taylor Racing. They short-pitted their fuel flow a little bit, so they don't have quite as much fuel as the 10. They believe they are really close. Meanwhile, Wayne Taylor says we're close, but we should be okay. This is going to be a good one to watch. 31 minutes to go. Will they make it?
That is huge, Matt. That is huge, because I think they needed a full fuel load to get to the finish if they stay at the race pace they're doing right now. So this is really rolling the dice for the championship leaders. They've not been afraid to do that in years past, but when you have the championship lead, I think you need a slightly different philosophy. You can't get too aggressive, Brian.
I would agree, and you talk about rolling the dice. The top 4 in GTD all did not pit. So that's Ellis, Auberlen, Tielitz, and Westphal. Last time by, they didn't pit. They're gambling. We've had some yellow, obviously, but seems to me like they're going to need fuel before the end of this race. Or
let's put it
yellow.
this way. If the 60 car gets it wrong, should they need a splash of fuel and the other 5 DPI cars stay out there, they will drop to last position. That'll be a 100-point swing, and they came in here with a 51-point lead. That'll totally turn the championship on its head as we head to Petit Le Mans.
Well, you talk about commitment. They're willing to make that commitment, those hard decisions from the box, but then they put it in the hands of the driver. I need you to go fast, but I need you to save fuel. And speaking of fast, the 10 and the 60 were both incredibly quick that last time by.
Great battle here for the lead in LMP2. The blue side view mirror to distinguish between them and the P3 machines that they're just going around. That's Delatraz aboard the number 8. His teammate John Ferrano has the championship lead, but he's got a fast Scotsman right behind him in Ryan Dial.
Dial in that blue and white from Era Motorsports. Delatraz, whenever he's been here, he has missed a race or two. Whenever he's been here, he's been spectacular. And this is going to be an intense battle to the end, because Ryan DL is not going to let Delatraz get away.
No, and he's third in the points right now is Ryan DL and his teammate Dwight Merriman, and they won here last year at Road America. They've got to set up for this place. He's going to keep the heat on Delatraz.
See the Lexus biggest movers there at the bottom of the screen, lower right, Matt Bell, Philip Ellis, Delatraz in the LMP2 car. That's what we're watching right now. And Ryan Diel wants to have a say in this before it's over with.
Ryan Diel recognized as one of the top sports car drivers in our paddock over the last decade or so. Been on a bit of a lull, I would say, for the last 2 or 3 years, but he is really on form this year in a number of championships. Love what he's doing on the circuit right now.
And I'm sure Mike Shank, watching from Nashville, loves what he's seeing right now. That's the 60 in front. His goal when they came in here, finish in front of the 10.
They still run 1-2 battle for the lead between the two Acuras.
Brian Shank Racing, they're going to win the 60th edition as well.
Acura 1-2, they continue to excel.
To the checkers here, 5 in a row for Acura, and it will be at the hands of Ricky Taylor. The 10 car, Philippe Albuquerque. The 60 of Tom Blomqvist almost cut face from the opening lap of the race, and Albuquerque takes the lead.
Wow. He said the key to victory was full commitment, and Jarvis cannot believe what he's looking at.
Philippe Albuquerque, Ricky Taylor win the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen.
He is right there with Ollie Jarvis, and Jarvis is balked a little bit as well. Here comes Renger van der Zande.
Van der Zande caught it just right, and he passes Jarvis for the lead.
Still a good championship picture day. 5 consecutive runner-up finishes. The Meyer Shank Racing Group, they extend the lead in the championship.
What will happen this time?
The more things change, the more they stay the same. We change racetracks, but the battles remain the same. I'm impressed right now with the pace that Ollie Jarvis had. We talked about this when we saw the changes going on the pit stop earlier. Perhaps the Meyer Shank crew had bet on rain, and so overnight they changed the setup on that car for wet conditions, and when we really started to move to the dry conditions, the car just was not good. They've changed it. Seems to come alive, but the question remains, Calvin, can they make it to the end, especially with this pace on fuel?
Well, that's the big question. I mean, they basically needed every ounce of fuel, Brian, unless we're going to see another yellow to make it to the end by short filling. Basically, by having that pit selection at the pit out mode, you can see when the other car's moving, you can release the fuel a little bit early and send him, but they don't have a margin to work with. It's going to be interesting to this play out. This is a replay for Bill Oberlin, who's running second, gets attacked there at the brakes zone for turn 12. And Thielen sort of like roughed him up a little bit and stayed right there to the point he did pivot him around. And that was really critical. Here are the leaders in traffic. Look at this. Again in the 60. The Albuquerque car slides it down the inside and takes the position.
Or what's going to happen into the carousel? What happens to Jarvis? He gets blocked. And Albuquerque, again, for 3 races in a row, the 60 snookered late. And Albuquerque played that traffic absolutely perfectly. Off
really
the road.
that was tight there for the 60 of Jarvis. Just slides it inside. I think it's the 32 car. He just got inside there. Our championship leader in GTD. High speed stakes here. Championship on the line. It was go time for Albuquerque. What a move. He's done it before this year. Did it to Tom Blomqvist at the Corkscrew at WeatherTech Raceway in mid part of this season.
Oh, and Jarvis hung up in the traffic, and Albuquerque escaping away. He gets hung up a little bit here. And for Ollie Jarvis, he's got to stay cool. He's got to stay calm. He can't throw it away through this traffic, but he also can't let Filipe Albuquerque get away.
So much more difficult from that front position when you're the first man to attack and get through that traffic like Jarvis was, compared to Filipe Albuquerque, who can play the chess match. He can be a move ahead and see what the other person is doing. But look at the battle between the Cadillacs behind. This is Vautier with Van der Zande right on his tail. There's Earl Bamber out and wide around the Fab Porsche. That was a wild move. Talk about commitment. Look at Bamber down to the inside. This is go time.
Talk about aggressive driving. I mentioned it in practice and even in qualifying. Laps pulled from the O2 because of track limits violations, and Earl Bamber laying it on the line. But that pass by Filipe Albuquerque, driving off the road at the exit of 7 and still getting it done, just absolutely amazing. Full commitment, as you say.
Let's take a look at how it developed. You can see there's the number 51 car, Rick Ware Racing, but Albuquerque just total commitment to the outside. He really had nowhere to go, just rode with it, and that ended up putting him into the inside lane, down into turn 8, and making that move on Jarvis.
And he was well back coming out of turn 6, but just read the traffic perfectly.
And if he read it perfectly, or he didn't want to run over him and had nowhere to go but the grass, and just had enough grip to keep it together with the right side, still on the island, so to speak. Opportunistic, lucky, I don't know, but either way, he's got the lead of this race.
And there it is. For Ollie Jarvis, you've got to keep the car together. You can't lean onto him coming out of 8 and damage that front end. You know you've got a good car underneath you. Woo! Let's go racing.
Look at this one, the 5 and the 0, one side by side into the brake zone. Vautier still a bit damp on the inside. He's going to run it wide. Watch Bamber. He's going to get this position. Bamber up to P3.
It's getting crazy on the racetrack, and Vautier takes Van der Zande all the way to the wall at the exit of Canada Corner.
Don't discount last year's winner here. Durrani's now in the mix. He can smell blood.
Ringer Van der Zande is not going to be at all enthused about that move, but he's cleared the 5, so now he can set his sight set on Earl Bamber, but that was going to be a tough one to do.
Yeah, the problem for Vautier is we watch it again. Watch this, coming down into the brake zone. Vautier's just going to send it, but look how damp it is where he's braking the car. He's just going to go straight right there. He can't slow it down. He elbows Van der Zande out of the way, and that opens up the door for his teammate, Earl Bamber, to get that position, and Durrani nearly got around the 5 as well.
Can't slow it down or won't slow it down?
Well, look at the damp right. He's on the damp side of the road. He's not going to slow the car down at the same rate as the dry racing line.
From the 31.
Oh, so close. This is awesome.
I could see the brake rotors glowing on the 5 of Tristan Vautier as he was down on the inside. So like you said, Calvin, I mean, he's on the brakes good and hard. I don't think he intentionally drove him out there, but when you see it from that high shot, it's not pretty.
Right near the LMP2 leaders as well. That's Delatraz aboard the orange, black, and white machine, about 3 cars up ahead of this 27 car that currently runs in 6th position. Maxime Martin, the Belgian, behind the wheel for the harder racing Aston Martin team.
And now Delatraz and Dial working their way past the GT traffic, out of 7, down the hill towards 8. Here they come. The black and orange of Delatraz leads in LMP2. Ryan Dial and that blue and silver from Era Motorsports Dial has not let him get away, and now they are mired in traffic.
Look at Delatraz, he's backing up, he's trying to back the cars up so he can get an acceleration right off the carousel, but Dial is right there with him. I love having 5 classes back together, Brian. This is awesome stuff.
I do as well, and Dial gets the worst of that one as he gets hung up by the 1 GTD car, but Delatraz caught up as well by the 9, the GTD Pro Porsche from FAF.
Now watch this, Dial's going to be, now he can get back on the dry line. Sketchy stuff here. You can see the darkness in the asphalt, so the drivers know they're going to be really risking it if they get hard on the brakes where the track is still a little bit damp.
You ever been to the Super Bowl and watched 5 games going on at the same time? That's exactly what we're seeing here. 5 classes battling, 5 classes full of world-class sports car drivers battling around this 4-mile circuit here at Road America.
19 minutes to go. Dial is not letting Delatraz get away. For Aero Motorsports, they are on the attack, looking for 2 in a row here at Road America.
Dial knows this racetrack well, having won here in a couple of different classes of cars, I believe, and last year, as you said, so wants to get back to winner's circle, to the top step. And the 60 now doesn't seem he can maintain the pace as it's 10, Matt.
2.5 seconds back now. Ali Jarvis told the team that the car is just simply brutal, especially in traffic. He's just trying to hold on. They told him we still have to hit our number. We have about 8 laps left to go. And when you look at the string of second-place finishes, which is where they're running right now, that they put together 5 straight, the record for overall second-place finishes of 6 straight, go all the way back to 2001 in the Audi. So these guys are really on a roll here, but you can see it slowly fading away. And the concern is the championship slowly fading away, because this is setting up exactly how the Wayne Taylor bunch wanted today to go.
You could also hear from the onboard, Matty, that he's having to save fuel. He was coasting into that brake zone for Canada Corner. He wasn't going full throttle straight to the brake pedal. He was sailing it, as they call it, into the brake zones. He's definitely on a bit of a fuel save. Doing that short stop, that short fill, he's got that on his mind, as well as now he's got the attention of Earl Bamber in a very fast Cadillac Racing 02 right behind him.
I was going to say, for Ali Jarvis, his concern now goes to the rearview mirror. He cannot let the 02 by. He needs to stay close to the 10. Finishing second is one thing. Third changes the picture yet again. More to come from Road America. The NASCAR Cup Series is on USA. Next, the race for the playoffs continues on the high banks of Michigan. Today, 3 p.m. on USA. Playoffs underway, and it's going to be a good one from Michigan. Why would it not be always good there? And there's a look at the playoff standings. Some big names, like you said, outside looking in.
Yeah.
Want to be a part of it.
4 races still to go before we get to the playoff races, so lots on the line here. And you keep chipping away at that number. It's 4, it's 3, it's 2, and then there's 1 to go, and you're still trying to get in and break through.
13 minutes to go here, and then at the bottom of the hour, Michigan is up. So a full day of racing here on USA. And this one is intriguing. Ollie Jarvis has now cut into the lead. He's pulled out a little bit from the 0-2 behind the blue and black number 10, doing what they need to do to stay in this championship. Ollie Jarvis in that bright pink number 60 Acura from Meyershank Racing, trying to get back to see if he can make a move. And then Earl Bamber trying to move forward. He and Alex Lynn aboard the 0-2. They would like another victory. They won at Sebring. They've been shut out since then. I just find it fascinating that Wayne Taylor Racing, Konica and Minolta has never won here at Road America.
Yeah, they've had like 7 wins at Daytona, and they've never won here at Road America. Ricky Taylor's won here, won with Acura Team Penske in 2020. He and Elio on the way to the championship, but Philippe Albuquerque has not won here, and neither has WTR with the Konica Minolta team. So, big day, big move. Thinking back on that move up in turn 7, Brian, I'm not sure if it was luck or commitment or what have you, but I think Jarvis thought he had it covered, and suddenly Albuquerque had 2 wheels in the grass. And once again, the 60 car are frustrated. If they were to lose 1 more position to Bamber here before the checkered flag, we would have a 1-point separation between the 60 and the 10 going into the final round of the championship in October.
And you can see as the clock winds down, that 9 FAF car really trying to track down your leader in GTD Pro. That is the 14 Vassar Sullivan Lexus of Ben Barnicoat behind the wheel. And they've really held this front-running position since the drop of the green flag, having qualified on the pole yesterday with Jack Hawksworth, who started this race. Well, Hawksworth really only met about that minimum drive time, which was 30 minutes for this race with weather conditions. So Ben Barnicoat right now on a monster driving stint, expected to hit almost, if not over 2 hours. So with the changing conditions that we've seen, throw in that prototype traffic here, the mental exertion right now that Ben Barnicoat has gone throughout this race is definitely insane. And then to have that 9 FAF car in that rear view mirror and how good they've been, Barnicoat's, putting every last bit of it he's gotten to this, as we've got about 11 minutes remaining.
Absolutely, and we had a change in LMP2. That battle has been ongoing. Ryan Dial, we talked about how he wanted to get past Delatraz. Well, he has. How did it happen?
Whoa! Contact there. Delatraz trying to protect that lane to the inside braking zone for Canada corner. Dial was committed, and someone lost some body weight. I think it's on the right side tail of the Delatraz car. You can see it flickered out there a little bit. That was sketchy.
Wow, that was
You're doing about 165 miles an hour on one of these P2 machines as you're hitting the brakes there.
Yeah, that was commitment, as you like to say, Calvin. Ryan Dial was committed, and Delatraz just needed to be aware that he was there. Kind of moving over and taking the space away is one thing, but once the car's already there, that's, especially in that area of the racetrack, certainly a risky move. And I think about this pass for the lead, Albuquerque over Jarvis. It reminds me a lot of the pass at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, where Jarvis got hung up in traffic, didn't even know that the 0-1 was there at the time. You look down on this, Albuquerque is well back and comes running up on him. Jarvis has kind of timed it so he could get around the GTD car. And Albuquerque just had the big run. I don't know that Ollie Jarvis even knew that he was there. Several car links back as they turned in for that corner.
Yeah, and I think Ryan Eversley, actually, looking at it again, he did open up the door a little bit for the 10 car, and it really did him a favor there. So I think Eversley was certainly on it in terms of identifying, okay, the leaders are around me, Jarvis is by, let me open up the door, because Albuquerque's committed to the outside. We've seen this look too many times this year with a teammate of the 60 car looking on and seeing the lead go away late in the going. As Matt said, they're looking at their 6th consecutive runner-up finish. They may hold on to the championship lead, albeit by a slim margin going to the final round, but could have been so much more if they'd just been able to seal the deal a few more times.
Well, we saw traffic take the lead away from Ollie Jarvis. Look up ahead of Philippe Albuquerque. It is a string of GTD cars. Now, can Jarvis use that same tactic? How can he get up there and try to use traffic to his advantage, find the pick, and find a way through?
He stalled. He has nowhere to go. Albuquerque, he's lost all of that lead. Here comes Jarvis. Who gets the momentum off of turn 8?
Albuquerque defensive. Jarvis looks down to the inside, tries to park down there, but he's got to watch Bamber behind him. And who's in the mix? It's the Acura again, the number 51 GTD car.
Look at Bamber trying to get on the power, trying to get the run. He's almost in the tail of Ollie Jarvis there as they exit the carousel. Albuquerque has scampered down the road. Oh,
wow,
Jarvis is off. He's off the road in the kick. He spun the car.
Big crash.
Championship leader is out.
Wow. Drama. We talk about it. It's never over until it's over. We talk about how much are you willing to risk to stay in this championship hunt and that frantic fight through the GTD traffic. Jarvis trying to make something happen.
Wow. Just got wide there through the king. I mean, there's so much in the skill set that you need to deal with these scenarios. He tried to save fuel, he's trying to deal with the traffic. They're going to keep him out there. The car's rolling, so they're keeping him out there. Trying to see if there's going to be enough time left on the board to go back. Green flag running. Let's take another look at it. Look at Bamber putting the pressure on. I don't think he was touched here. Ollie just gets a little bit wide, gets in the dirt, then just spears it across the road. That's a big impact.
It's a big hit. Big hit. Massive debris field. It's going to take a while to clean up.
They could get really lucky, Brian. I mean, that debris field is big. We're looking at the clock here with, what, 7 minutes to go. If he can keep this car rolling,
01
gets by, and so now he's down to 4th, right? You know, by running all over the track like they were in traffic, he may have got some pickup on his tires, Brian Sweet, he needed it in that high commitment corner. Just lost the grip, runs off the road.
Well, the other thing he wasn't able to do, Calvin, he couldn't get quite to the left edge of the road at turn-in for the kink. And so with that offline turn-in, it really affected the exit of the corner. It was a little early, ran out of road at the exit. And man, story still unfolding here from Road America. This is big, boom, not only on track, but in the championship hunt in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. White flag in the air, still under full course caution at the bottom of the hour. Countdown to green, from Michigan International Speedway next on USA. Countdown to green with our good friend Marty Snyder. And drama on the racetrack, not just because of the crash for the 60 as the white flag comes out. They'll be behind the safety car for this lap around to the checkered flag. The 60 is back underway, but we understand has a tire going down. Can he limp around the racetrack at this speed with a flat Michelin tire?
What a crazy scenario playing out here. The 10 car looking to get their very first victory here at Road America with the championship lead. And that little mistake there by Jarvis running out wide in the kink with the contact. He's lost 2 positions. That's 40 points that he just lost. And that will cost them the championship lead here heading to the final round of the championship. But just so lucky he was heading in the right direction to keep this car rolling. I thought they were done. Yeah. That was a big impact. But the fact the car was pointing in the right direction precluded the Vardier number 5 car and Durrani in the 31 from getting around him. Otherwise, that would have been more points lost in what we call moving day in this championship. Matt?
Now, they just told the 60 that the previous lap he had 10 PSI still in that right front tire because they can't get the telemetry off the car. The last time by, they said it's dropped down to 7. It's going to get dicey. We think you can make it back, but just watch that right front, do all you can do.
He's going to sled this thing back. There's no way he's going to stop. You see the, sure if that was a Sheen or a Sparks. Take another look at it. Pressure from behind from Bamba. Missed his marks a little bit. Lost a little bit of downforce from the aero wash up ahead, and then bang, fires it straight back across the road into that right-hand concrete wall.
And like you said, very fortunate. The impact, obviously significant, but it ends up pointed the right way and rolling down the racetrack. Only the 0-1 gets by him. So it's one of those things where he doesn't lose that much, loses 2 positions actually on the racetrack.
On just the angle of attack, if you think about it, he had to kind of come over to the left. He's not set up extreme left to fire through the correct radius into that corner, and just caught him out a little bit, had a little bit of understeer, just got out on the wet, curbing into the grass, and then it just dug in and fired him.
0-2, 0-1 get by, so he drops from 2nd to 4th, and that right front tire, you can tell it is almost flat, but at these speeds, should be able to get back around. Most of the load from here on out through any corner is going to be on the left front because most of the corners are right-handed.
This is massive, Brian, in the championship. Crazy. I mean, sitting in P2, they would have had the championship lead going into the final round. Even if they dropped to P3, they'd have still had it by a single point. But this is now, they're on the back foot going to Petit Le Mans. Gives Wayne Taylor Racing. They've been there. They've been in the top 2 positions going into the final round of the championship now 3 years in a row. But they haven't sealed the deal in a while. So a lot of pressure on a racetrack that has pressure. That racetrack is just immense with it. We talk about 5 classes running together here on 4 miles. When you get to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, that's a whole different kettle of fish in terms of the intensity.
3rd year in a row that the 10 will go into the final race of the year in contention for the championship. And you talk about that race, Petit Le Mans, and pressure. Think back to the last lap last year between the 10 and the 31. Last lap, last corner.
Yeah, it came down to the last corner. And don't be surprised to see it happen again in a few weeks' time, setting up for a scintillating finish to our championship season.
Being told right now that the 10 will enter the final race of the year 19 points up on the 60, exactly the lead they had last year as they went to Petit Le Mans.
Wow. What irony.
Up the front straightaway, they just need to climb the hill, the 60, hoping the right front stays on. But for Konica Minolta, Wayne Taylor Racing, they have broken a winless streak. Philippe Albuquerque, Ricky Taylor, Acura. They take the win at Road America. What a wild one. Yeah. Ryan Diel with a great battle in LMP2 come across the line with the win there. Looking back through the rest of the categories, Felipe Fraga in the 74. He and Gar Robinson, and that car didn't look quite square. It's been through the battles today. They win in LMP3. In GTD Pro, finally the streak that Pfaff Motorsports had running.
Oh, this is a cool story. I love this. The 57 team get the victory, Brian. come so close. They won on the road at Watkins Glen, lost it for a drive time infraction of 15 seconds. So we see Lexus getting their first pro win of the year, but for the 57 squad from Windward Racing, they had the lead till the final 2 corners at Lime Rock in the last round of the championship. They finally crossed the stripe in first. Brilliant victory for that team.
And Ben Barticoat aboard the number 14 Vassar Sullivan Lexus is fired up. Something tells me Philip Albuquerque is as well. We'll find out.